cold at the touch, dead in the eyes, no signs of life no more. I put your love under the knife. Leave me to die here all alone. No signs of life no more, no. A crying dove may never fly. Black and white. Yeah. Black and white. Oh. 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 Just black and white. Black and white, just let me go. It's only right for all I know. It's only matter. It's calico. It's black and white. Just let me go. It's only right for all I know. It's only matter. It's calico. It's black and white. White, white, white. Black and white. Yeah. Black and white. Oh. 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 Just black and white. Black and white.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Simracersworld TV, and welcome to another fantastic evening in the SimStickers Simracersworld Formula 3 series. Now, as you can see, tonight is going to be a slightly different affair in the way that I'm not alone in the commentary box for the first time in a very long time in the Simracersworld Formula 3 series. The fantastic Jack Werrell, as well as a lot of extra empty space because of the Nurburgring, Jack Werrell's joining me in the box. Jack, it's been a long time since we've worked together, mate. You know this series pretty well as well, so what a fantastic combo this is bound to be.
Yeah, hello, thank you very much. And yeah, it's been far too long since we've commentated together, and the only experience I've really got of this F3 series is driving in it. I did parts of Season 1, parts of Season 2, and I've been watching along with Season 3, so maybe I'm of some use to you this evening, but we are at Nurburgring, of course, and you've been here in real life, so there's a bit more experience there. It's shaping up to be quite a good night.
Yeah, it certainly is. It's going to be an absolute belter. It's a brilliant place to be. A very tricky Grand Prix circuit, tight and twisty. Quite a lot of elevation, really. It's quite deceiving how much elevation there is at this sort of circuit. And what we're going to just do, everybody, is show you the... Oh, hello. There's the overlay. What are you doing up there? There we go. We've got championship standings. Thank you to the wonderful Paul Godden at Sim Stickers for doing these for us. This, of course, is your Precision Class Championship. The top dogs at the moment, Adrian Falcon, reigning champion, retakes the top spot from Arthur Fry. James Forstyke is third on 181 points. Bart Daleman fourth. He's having a bit more luck this season, just ahead of Kevin Zemstra, Matthew Crisp, Jaco van der Plat, Taylor Lane and Silas Craig Vrolic. Very much a fiercely forward takeover in the middle there. Ashley Beard rounds out your top 10. In the consistency class, we have, at the very top of the pile, Victor Balea, Mark Elviota and Sammy Venables are 1 point apart just behind. Ben White, 5 points off them, with Ben Hoffman, Tim Rutten, Nick Shermans, Victor Blick, Hans Pullmans and John Tusting all very much in with a shout of the title still. We're only just getting to the halfway point now, but still about 50 points between the lot of them is very, very close indeed. Phil Reagan leads the way in the Academy class, only 2 points ahead of Elizabeth Rodriguez. Khan Newen is only 9 points back, followed by Greg Parmenter and Craig Schill. He's having quite the season so far, is Craig, but again, very close in the Academy class. In the Teams Championship, Fat Send Engineering, one of the greatest team names I've ever seen on that. So it has been Fat Sends all season. Fiercely Forward are in second at the moment, hopefully not bringing back their nickname Bravely Backwards. We've got Exodus Racing in third position, just ahead of Altitude XZ Esports and Sim Stickers Simracersworld, 2 points off them. Incredibly close there though, Jack, between second place and fifth place. Only 10 points between four teams. That is unbelievably close, isn't it?
It really is, and even more so in the Dallara Formula 3 cars. They're known for close racing, but to have a range of drivers, a range of talent, and of course the range of classes to be that close, and the field spread not to be as far apart as I was expecting, it just shows how close and condensed this season's going to be. And of course, with all of the drivers out on circuit putting in the quality times now, they're going to slowly start to eke out those extra couple of tenths. Whether they decide to maybe ease it off in practice, make sure they've got that good sort of biting point on the circuit, then go out in qualifying and go for every single tenth, every single thousandth that they can find. This is when we start to see the true pace of some of the drivers and hopefully start to paint a picture of what the championship will look like at the end of the night.
Yeah, definitely. You know, every single night in a championship can have some sort of effect, no matter whether it's the beginning or the end. You always want to get the advantage early on so you're not then on the back foot come the rest of the season. But, I mean, you and I both know how simple a challenge that can be, and not very is the answer. Bart Daleman fastest at the moment. Sammy Venables just behind on track in what I still believe is the best looking car on the grid, the Fat Send Engineering car. Now I wonder if you agree on this, Jack, with the logo on the rear wing as it is, as Adrian Falcon goes fastest. Thanks very much, mate. It seems like we've got the field split into 2 practice sessions, which I've only seen a handful of times before, which is quite interesting because I thought, Adrian's not out on track, but yeah, it has split them into 2 sessions here. Look, we go between the 2. That's very, very odd indeed. But Sammy Venables, when you look at that car from the front, now do you remember the old Jaguars in Formula 1 when they had the HSBC branding?
Very faintly, but I do remember the one you're thinking of, yeah.
Don't you think that looks like the HSBC logo on the rear wing when it comes towards you?
We'll have another look once he comes around here. I can see what you mean. I can see what you mean, 100%. But for me, not my favourite livery, I've got to say, mainly because I've never seen it before, the SimStickers Simracersworld livery. I haven't really been that close up on the livery department, but the SimStickers livery I love with a passion. The Simracersworld livery I love with a passion. They've merged them together very subtly. So from the front, it's a SimStickers car. From the side, it's a bit of both, and from the rear, it's a SimRacersworld car.
Yeah.
It almost reminds me of the Renault Formula One car from last season. One side it was all black, from the top it was all yellow. It's very deceiving. So when you've got that in your rearview mirror, it's going to be a tricky one.
Yeah, it's an interesting comparison actually, and very, very true indeed. You know, you've got that deception of, oh, what colour is the car? You know, like you say, from the front yellow, from the side black, from the top yellow, from the back black. It just works so well. Another livery that I've always been a fan of, despite them, again, I called them out in a video on it recently, despite not being a fan of number boards, it seems. Team Fordzilla's liveries have always looked good. Philip Russell's, unfortunately, didn't look that good when he had a very strange incident at Watkins Glen earlier in the season, but that blue, combined with that orange and the black, just really does work on these cars. Arthur Fry, Fats End Engineering's own protege, you could say, second fastest, only 10 thousandths of a second faster than Bart Delman at the moment. And Arthur is one of those drivers that, I mean, he was quick last season, very, very quick straight off the bat, but just didn't really have the look to go with it. He's been leading the championship through every round until the last one, where Adrian Falcon put in another wonderful, dominant display, but Arthur's definitely one to watch, I think it's worth saying.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking over at the timing screen now, and I'm seeing drivers that have been in since season 1 and drivers that have just arrived for season 3. So it's a complete raft of experience, not just in these cars, but in the league as well. Because if you're with the familiar faces, you build up a slight bit of trust between the drivers, so you know where they're going to place the car if you are or aren't coming up behind them. And it's also quite a good proving ground, because I'm seeing names which I was racing against, and I look over now and no way I'd be able to keep up with them. So you can see that building that experience and having that seat time in the car and in the championship really does start to benefit the drivers that have been here for a while. Falcon, Fry and Daleman, they've been here since I can remember, so they're definitely living up to it up at the top. But then you've got Venables, Balea. I was incredibly close with Balea in season 2, but now look, he's right up at the top. No way I could keep up with him now. And Kevin Zemstra, no surprise, he's up at the top. James Forsythe, he's up there as well. Matthew Crisp, Ashley Beard, these are all drivers which I used to be able to keep up with. Now, they're just going to be in a different class to me.
I mean, Josh Clogg, to be fair, he was a championship favourite almost when it came to, season 1 of this championship. You know, before we even had any of the heat racing format, the wonderful heat racing format, Josh was right up there, you know. He was up against... Who was it that eventually won the championship the first time round?
See, this is where you're drawing on
I'm
knowledge.
Trying to think now, yeah. Bart Daleman was very, very close all the way through. Josh Clogg was all the way up there.
There was an Italian driver, I think, who his little picture on SDK was him in front of a Ferrari, but I cannot remember for the life of me who that was.
Oh,
so
that's really bad, isn't it?
I'm going to have to do a frantic search through YouTube to have a look to see who it was.
But either way, Josh Clogg, you know, he was a championship hopeful throughout that first season, and it shows just how much the game has been raised in these latter seasons. Ryan James as well, the Team Down Under machine. He's always quick and exciting to watch. Looks like he's the one that's not a fan of number boards anymore, unfortunately. But either way, Markel Viota, one of the other Exodus racing cars, he's seemingly invisible. I've never seen that before. I don't know if you've got the same as I have, but
No,
I've never...
Oh, wait. No, I don't.
I've never seen that before.
Aero hacks. Aero hacks is
his
got
driver
the low downforce setup.
Further back in the car?
It almost looks like you can see a helmet, but he's very, very... I think he's gone for the Yuki Tsunoda strategy in that.
Yeah, that's... I have never, ever in my life seen that in iRacing. There is definitely a lid there, but yeah, he's... It's the ghost car, everybody. You can see his legs. There you go, you can see his legs, that's enough. But, yeah, I mean, James Forsythe just in front of him there, he's very much in the stealthy persuasion. He's got the black lid. Just blends in nicely. Good-looking car, that, as well, the Altitude XZE Sports Machine. Wonderful livery down the side. But I like what they've done with the nose. You know, the black stripe down the middle really splits it up a little bit and makes sure that you sort of appreciate the roundness of the front of the nose. And I quite like it when Formula One teams do that. You know, it makes the front of the car look a little bit prettier than these jagged, bulbous, sort of rather phallic noses that we see these days. Yeah,
and I know you are a fan of a split livery, and I know it's not quite there, but having that like you say, the black line down the front of it, just to break everything up. It makes the car look slightly different because I've noticed it on the LMP2 as well. If certain sections of the front of the car are black around the front vents and around the front headlights, it makes it look like a completely different car. The same with the Formula 3, and I think this is also a series which never ever disappoints with liveries, because it's a car which, on first glance, it's quite complex, but when you get it into Photoshop or whatever you use, it's pretty much put what you want where you want it, and it comes out just as you want. And Exodus, beautiful livery, sim stickers, my god, love that livery. And Wayne Palmer's little trademark green flashes as well. I love that when all of the team's cars are exactly the same, and the only thing to separate them are just slight little flashes, like on the wing mirrors and the nose cone. While as commentators, it makes it incredibly hard to pick between the drivers. I think when you're looking at them for a long while, it really does suit it.
Well, the one thing that does stand out for me in that team is, it's not Paul Godden. Apologies, he's got the red on his SimStickers car. I can't remember who the other one is that has. I think it's usually Paul Godden. One of them pretty much always has bright yellow wheels. Brian Loynes. Apologies, it's Brian Loynes. Now then, we have our first grid of the night. Adrian Falcon and Arthur Fry go head-to-head in the first heat. Victor Belair and James Forsyth on row 2. Then it's Ashley Beard and Ben Hoffman, with Wayne Palmer and Ross Nicholson behind. Following them is Paul Godden and Caitlin Haight, with Tim Rutten and Stephen Grabowski. Then we have Daniele Giudici, Louis Correa, Elizabeth Rodriguez, Taylor Lane, Khan Newen and Phil Reagan, rounding out the 18-car grid. Now, Jack, you do have knowledge of this championship. Is there anybody you've got your eye on here, mate, for this one?
Namely from watching season 2 and now, of course, season 3, Falcon and Fry up at the front battling along. But if they're battling, they're going to slow each other down. Belay is right there in third. He can race incredibly closely, and we've heard his connection issues have been fully resolved, which is only going to make him more competitive. So he will have been putting in that seat time. Belay could be there if it all goes wrong. Don't rule out Ben Hoffman and Wayne Palmer. Ross Nicholson, of course, season 1 hopeful. He's still got the pace.
Yeah, we do have a fantastic grid. So many talented people, but the first race of the night is about to get underway then. The revs rise, as do ours. And they're away. Look at that from Arthur Fry. Good initial launch. Falcon matches him onto second gear. Caitlin Haight's had a good start. So too is Taylor Lane a little bit further back. Got a bit of a wider shot for turn 1. See if there's any shenanigans. Bit of a lock up in the middle. Looks like everyone got it all right, although Tim Rutten and Taylor Lane have actually had an incident at the back. Taylor had a fantastic initial getaway, but Arthur Fry at the front now with Falcon down the inside. These two top of the championship. They cannot afford to lose out early on, but Arthur Fry, awesome stuff. Now look at this from Adrian straight back at him, and there's strength in numbers, Jack, because Victor Blair is there with him.
Yeah, having his teammate there is definitely going to make a difference. Adrian Falcon still on the outside, carries the superior momentum, grabs the apex, almost slows down Arthur Fry slightly, which inadvertently managed to slow Belaya. Ben Hoffman towards the gravel. I hope that wasn't his teammate that managed to do that. That car looks destined for retirement. Let's hope his teammate didn't make contact with him. I think I might have seen a flash, but no, it was the SimStickers car that tipped him round. Couldn't quite figure out who that was.
Ross Nicholson just gave him a bit of a kiss, unfortunately. This is what happened with Taylor Lane. Oh, Taylor's just gone in a bit too hot, and Tim Rutten goes with him. He was lucky not to get collected by anybody else. But Ben Hoffman, honestly, the man with no luck. But look at this for the top 5. We've got Arthur Fry, Victor Belair side by side. Then we've got Ashley Beard and James Forsyth waiting in the wings as well. They want a piece of this. We'll go on board with James Forsyth and get the view of it, because there's a train down towards the chicane. Oh, I was really hoping that Victor had fixed his internet. He thought he had, but it's been going on long enough now. I think there needs to be a straw to break this camel's back, because look at it. The car getting damaged and broken, but then repairing itself. It's not going to be healthy for the ones around him, I don't think. But wow, what a great battle early on.
Yeah, and all this battling behind Adrian Falcon has just let him build a bit of breathing room up at the front. Now look at this. This is Stefan Grabowski trying to defend from Louis Correa behind. Here is Elizabeth Rodriguez, the privateer entry, crossing the line now with a train of cars behind her. There is Victor Belaya, and look, Arthur Fry has built that gap up as well. So Adrian Falcon just about bringing Arthur Fry with him. Victor Belaya, the cork in the bottle, I fear, because Ashley Beard, James Forsyth and Ross Nicholson all desperate to get by. Yeah,
I don't think it's going to go down well, the continued blinking. It's not the problem with it is it's not Victor's fault. That's what's so irritating for me. I feel so sorry for the guy. It's not his fault that it's doing this. We've got a few of the drivers, by the way, that are having this sort of invisible driver issue by the look of it. It's very, very odd. I've not seen that before. But, like I say, it's not Victor's fault that the car is doing that. He's tried everything he can to sort his internet out. And this is just part of online racing, I'm afraid. It doesn't always work out as you want it to. And I think that the guys are, again, tonight going to just be like, look, Victor, mate, we know it's not your problem, but you might have to park it. And he said himself, he's happy to do so. And he's going to continue to give it a try, but it's going to be so tough for him to do that. But I think it needs to happen, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I can imagine it is rather distracting. Sorry, Chaz, I can imagine it is rather distracting. Looking back there from Ross Nicholson in the SimStickers Sim Racers World machine, number 68, leading James Forsythe at the moment. Caitlin Haight looking to get behind the RSR Esports by G Performance machine, the number 100, just following along, but she can't take any sort of comfort in the cars in front battling because Stefan Grabowski's there to pick up the pieces as well. Ben Hoffman and Paul Godden both out of the race. A bit of a wobble there from Ross Nicholson. Well held. That's a car diving for the pit lane. Who was that? Was it Victor Balea deciding that maybe it is time to throw in the towel? It is indeed.
Yeah, fair play. He's been black flagged apparently, so it's understandable, and it's a massive shame. It really is, because Victor's a really top guy, and it's great to have him racing with us. He's always exciting to watch, but these things have to happen. Ross Nicholson's just lost a place to James Forsythe. Now, of course, Jack, something that we discussed beforehand when we were going through the ins and outs of this evening's racing is the fact that the top 8 go through from this into the feature. So at the moment, Louis Correa is the man on the bubble. So fast cars go bang. It looks like fast cars go through to the feature at the moment. In 8th place is the ghostly Elizabeth Rodriguez in what looks like an old Tyrrell, and I absolutely adore that car. Is very low down in the cockpit, somehow seeing where she's still going, but just not quite close enough to make a move on Louis yet. Still, a couple of laps to go.
Yeah, so 7-lap race here in Heat 1. Of course, the same in Heat 2, and like you say, the top 8 do get that promotion directly into the feature race, and Elizabeth Rodriguez has got all the work to do. I've raced with Louis Correa a fair bit, and I've been in his situation as well, being that driver on the very edge of promotion into the feature race. And sometimes you might not think you're thinking about it, but it's sat there in the back of your mind thinking, don't make a mistake, make sure you grab the apexes and just try and bridge that gap. However, I think it might be slightly easier for him at the moment, as Elizabeth Rodriguez has still got Stefan Grabowski making inroads, looking to try and get by at every opportunity. Now onto the back straight we go, and this is probably his best opportunity, and if it doesn't come now on the brakes, he's going to have to hope for the best run out of the final corner in towards the heavy braking zone of turn 1. A little look up the inside in towards the chicane, weave it through the curbs and back on the throttle once again. Elizabeth Rodriguez still leading Grabowski, but how long it will stay like that, I don't know, as we go on to lap 4 now, Chaz.
Ashley Beard in the pit lane for some reason. That's very odd, and that now promotes Elizabeth Rodriguez into 8th position. That's very, very odd for Ashley Beard. I'm not quite sure what's happened there. Maybe he's fallen asleep at the wheel again. We've seen him fall asleep many a time in endurance streams. Is he? Oh, he's just had a... It's like he's had a stop
Fast
go.
repair, maybe?
Yeah, that's true. Maybe something wrong with the car, a bit of contact early on, but either way, straight back out there. Now, Elizabeth Rodriguez is not out of the woods here, because she has got Stephen Grabowski, who's looking to grab a position right behind. But let's not forget to mention that Louis Correa and Elizabeth Rodriguez have both gained 7 places to get to where they are now. So right near the back of the grid. Solid first few laps. There's a lock up from Grabowski there. Yeah, a strange one. John Tusting in the chat, by the way. Is Elizabeth Neck all right? Well, I've got 2 answers for you on this, John. We've already picked up that's an issue. We had a slow-mo before on somebody else that's got the same issue going on. But also, can you get a reverse chase cam close up? Doesn't exist in my mind, mate. Chase cam does not exist in my world. But either way, yes, we have a very, very odd issue going on for them. Adrian Falcon, though, at the moment, actually, to be fair, Jack, if you're looking at the timing, there's only one driver that's done more than 1 purple sector. On the last lap, they all shared a purple sector each, except for this man, Arthur Fry, who in car 22, P2, did 2 purple sectors. So he's on a mission at the minute to try and get forward, but it's just... It never seems like enough to catch Adrian Falcon. The guy's an absolute machine.
He is indeed. We'll see when Arthur Fry crosses the line now. Does he set the fastest lap of the race? No, he's still some half a second off Adrian Falcon's last time, and that is namely because he set a purple time last time through. James Forsyth, he's starting to pick up positions. Ross Nicholson, I think, might have just fallen foul of that. Here is Stefan Grabowski now looking down the inside, later on the brakes than Rodriguez. And I think, who's that? That's Taylor Lane working his way through. A good comeback drive so far. And he is now knocking on the door of a feature race entry. Of course, you've got to think he was pointing backwards at the start of lap 1. So if he can get into the feature race now, he can get that break, get that cool down, and then focus his mind ready for that 16-lap feature race on the way.
Yes, indeed. Academy class champion as well. Last time round was Taylor Lane. I've just noticed that we don't have our class stripes up for some reason. I'm sorry, everybody. I'm really not sure why that's not working. We do not have driver classes for some reason. That's just hit me, because I've just realised then that obviously Taylor won the Academy class last season. Here's Tim Rutten down the inside of Elizabeth Rodriguez. Oh, there's contact, and Elizabeth's off on the grass, or the gravel. Broken front right and straight out. That's very frustrating for Elizabeth there. Not quite sure who was at fault with that one, because it seemed to me like Tim, his intentions are clear. Oh, he runs a little bit wide, but there wasn't... He was a bit far back, but at the same time, with Elizabeth knowing he was alongside for that long, or well, he wasn't really alongside, let's face it. It's a bit of a tough one to call, so I'll take my amateur steward's hat off, as I'm often reminded to by Peter Mackay. Ross Nicholson's now going after James Forsyth, who had a fantastic drive through the field at Interlagos, and he's holding on to third place at the minute, Jack, but 4 seconds off the cars ahead. They've just bolted completely, haven't they?
They have indeed. Arthur Fry now setting the fastest lap of the race, a 1:49.680. So he's taken a 10th out of Adrian Falcon. But that is nowhere near what he needs in the closing couple of laps of this race. Ross Nicholson still hot on the heels of Forsyth. You can see just how much he closes up on the brakes. The brakes glowing. He's using every ounce of performance he can get out of that Dallara Formula 3 car. And he's leaving Caitlin Haight behind, still with Wayne Palmer just about within touching distance. Taylor Lane and Stefan Grabowski closer than ever. Taylor actually setting a purple sector 3 on the last lap, so he is really looking for that feature race entry firstly forward GSI.
Yeah, he really needs it as well, to be fair. He's trying so hard. I'm just going to try and very quickly update the classes now, everybody, so if there is an issue with this, then feel free to turn up at my house and kick my head in. That may be a bit extreme for that, but either way, we're going to try it. And it looks to me like we've got it right. I'm not sure if Jack can see it at his end, but hopefully so. He can. There you go. Taylor Lane is in the precision class, so he's up to 9th place. Academy class champion, but he has the precision class pace. That's the thing. He really does. Karen Newen, top of the Academy class at the moment, but not going through to the feature as things stand. Actually, we do need to keep an eye on this between Taylor and Stephen, because this is, with a lap and a little bit to go, the battle for a feature race place. Taylor really aggressive, chucking it about, nearly contact. Taylor gets out of it. Can Tim Rutten do anything with that now? He's going to go over to the right, shows Taylor his intentions, but nothing doing yet. 1 lap to go here at this point, Jack. Do you think anyone's going to make a move here?
It's going to be a really close race, I've got to say, on this final lap. So only 3.2 miles left to go. Look at that, a big jump over the curb there for Stefan Grabowski. Taylor Lane had a little look. Tim Rutten playing the waiting game. You can hear him lifting off. I think he's reading this situation as they're going to take each other off, or they're going to slow each other down. Look how close they got there. So at the moment, Taylor Lane is on the inside for turn 1. Does he get overconfident and outbrake himself? I don't know, but Tim Rutten's got the draft assistance from Grabowski in front. He can just sit, waiting in the wings, waiting for that mistake. Later on the brakes, can he get 2 for 1 here? Almost makes contact with Grabowski there. And now we're heading through the stadium section of the circuit. It is still Lane up at the front. Grabowski running slightly wide. Great view back from Taylor Lane here. And for the moment, Taylor is looking safe in 8th place. But we know what this championship is like. That can change in a matter of a couple of corners.
It really can. All it takes is for one of them to have a bad run, but it looks to me like Taylor Lane's got that sorted at the moment. Fantastic stuff from him. But the man at the front once again, still looking quite untouchable, is Adrian Falcon. Really is just a marvel to watch, Adrian. Arthur Fry doing a great job as well. But the rest of them are all spread out now, over a second between everybody else in the field. So strong stuff though. It's nice consistency from them all, but Taylor Lane has indeed made it up into that necessary position. Tim Rutten wants to just get up there just in case there's a mistake from anybody in front. He wants to get past Grabowski. He needs to be careful following. Jack's been a victim of that before. Trust me. We're not going to talk about that too much. Either way, oh, that's close between those pair. We need to go back to the front. And this man, as part of Chaz Bingo tonight, yes, Bart Daleman did make a Chaz Bingo card for my commentary lines. Car 1, P1. There you go. Who's got that on their bingo card? Adrian Falcon does not let us down. Takes the win in the first race of the evening. Arthur Fry is going to be second. Awesome drive by him. James Forsythe gets a well-deserved third place. Ross Nicholson's fourth. Caitlin Haight, she needed that. Caitlin really needed that because she's had a nightmare recently. It's Car Newen has got a lot of damage, and is that Stephen
Grabowski? Yeah.
Grabowski's car is, well, not much of a car. What on earth has happened here?
Yeah, you can see Car Newen with his car left stranded. That was Grabowski off the road. I think he spun trying to battle Tim Rutten and didn't quite check his delta, couldn't quite see around the headrest by the looks of that, and Car Newen left with very little room. So here is the lap before, and he just spun it on the throttle, I think. Can't see any further damage on that car until
it was a bit clumsy.
He comes along, yeah, and turns his Dallara into a trike by the looks of that. But Stefan Grabowski crossing the line now down in 12th place.
Yeah, he won't be pleased with that one. He may have been right at the front of the Consolation race grid as well, but it was, I mean, we've all had a hasty rejoin. You know, you try and get back on the track as quickly as possible as to not lose any time. But that there was just a little bit too impatient, I'm afraid. From Grabowski, you need to cover as little of the track as possible when you're doing a rejoin. And he unfortunately covered the entire thing. But a very interesting first race there, Jack. Your first race in the commentary box in this championship. It's certainly frantic, isn't it? Yeah,
it didn't let me down at all, and it's amazing the concept of when you're out there in the car, and if you were in Taylor Lane's cockpit at that time, you're thinking, right, okay, I've got a car behind me, and it lasts hours almost. The 7-lap race just drags and drags and drags and drags, just waiting for it to be over. In the commentary box, 7 laps just disappears in the blink of an eye, and it's amazing how quick it just goes, and it's full of action as well. So I'm sure Heat 2 will bring much of the same.
It definitely will, mate. It definitely will. There is no rest for the wicked, and here's our second grid. Sammy Venables in the consistency class at the front of the grid, from Bart Daleman, Kevin Zemstra, Matthew Crisp, Jaco van der Plat, Josh Clogg, Mark Elviota, Brian Loynes with his bright yellow wheels, Ryan James and Ben White with Philip Russell and Hans Polmans 11th and 12th. Behind them is Victor Blick, John Tusting, Adam Oshiwala, Greg Parmenter, Craig Schill and Matisse Groen at the back in 18th place. So there is Sammy Venables, consistency class driver, absolutely flying in this championship so far. Sammy Venables, great performance last time out at Interlagos as well. There's a lot of fiercely forward cars after that though. We've got Kevin Zemstra, Matthew Crisp, Jaco van der Plat and Josh Clogg there like a swarm of angry bees. Any of them take your tickle your fancy for this one, Jack? Because Bart Daleman's not taken to the grid actually, so apologies, Jack. We'll come back to that in a second. But either way, Elite Works Media in the chat. Oh, no, to spur on Sammy Venables, but he's jumped the start. It's an absolute nightmare, and Fiercely Forward are going to go fiercely forward and, well, absolutely swarm him like a pride of lions, you could say. Zemstra down the inside. Thank you very much, Sammy. Let's see, everybody behaving themselves? Yeah, doing a nice job through there at the moment. The SCCR cars have got a new livery as well by the look of it, but, well, that's one way to do it. Unfortunately, Sammy Venables, not sure whether he will get a penalty for that, but I imagine it's quite likely, Jack.
Yeah, and it's really down to him when he decides to take it. Do you take it at the start when everybody's bunched up, or do you last those 3 laps and drag the car round those 3 laps, try and build that gap and hopefully minimise the losses? That's if he does have a penalty, but he did move forward quite a bit out of his pit box. I need to put my teeth back in.
He went very northern then. He moved forward, did he? Forward.
Kevin Zemstra still in the lead, just about though. Venables looking up the inside now, and they do manage to get around there without making any contact now. Up towards the Schumacher rest, there's a car off in the gravel. There's then 2 cars into the side of each other. There is Mark Elviota. Who else got caught up in that? I'm not 100% sure. But that was 3 cars that had an issue. There is Ryan James in the pit lane, destined for retirement. And it's just the SimStickers car gets disposed of sideways, and then it's Marco Biota left with nowhere to go after the Team Down Under car is bouncing off cars left and right.
To be fair, I think it was important for Viota to hit Ryan James there, because you'll see they make this initial contact, and it's the right rear on James's car that's gone. And he was eventually, I think, going to go back over to the right, but Markel hit the right rear of it, and he actually put it back onto the grass. I mean, Markel can't see over the steering wheel anyway by the look of it, but managed to... that's just so odd to look at. I can't figure it out. But a real shame for them there, just tiny bit of contact, wheel-to-wheel stuff. These cars have seemed more sensitive to damage recently, but at the same time, while it can be frustrating, I quite like it. It's more realistic. You know, you get a lot of wheel-to-wheel damage in these cars. And before, we've seen wheels pop off and then pop back on. And now, you know, you have a touch, you can go around a couple of corners and the car will feel fine, and then all of a sudden it'll go. Sammy Venable's having a bit of a blink in and out there for a moment, but there's 4 fiercely forward cars in the top 5. Zemstra, Crisp, Van der Plat and Clog. Josh Clog with the best view of it. Indeed, it's like a team media day with Sammy Venables held hostage in the middle of it. Interestingly though, Jack, like you said, Sammy has not come in yet, doing another lap just to see.
Yeah, he's just going to have to tick the laps off and decide when he does take the penalty. That is, of course, if he has one. But Kevin Zemstra, he is in the best situation at the moment. He's up at the front and he's got 3 teammates behind him with almost the Sammy Venables alongside in towards the hairpin. I'm not quite sure whether he got close enough to make the overtake. Looks for the cutback now up the hill. He is going to be on the outside for the first left-hander of the Schumacher S. He does out-drag him up the hill, possibly a little something to do with his superior traction on the exit there, but then up towards the next left-hander. He's got to decide, is he going to go defensive? Is he going to take the normal line? Does take the preferred line, and he's now back in the lead. So it is Sammy Venables from 4 fiercely forward cars of Zemstra, Crisp, Van der Plat and Clog, of which I've raced with all of them. I've been a teammate of 2 of them, and for the moment they're left with very little to do. And of course the last thing they want to do is battle, but if you feel like you're being held up by a teammate, you've got to communicate that to them. You've got to say, you've got to let me by, let me have a go. And look at this in the background now. This is Victor Blick looking up the inside and getting the position made easily on the brakes past Philip Russell, and it's all changed there. Look in the background as well, Hans Polman's literally pushing Philip Russell through the chicane, mainly because John Tusting is following along. There is Sammy Venables in the pit lane, taking his drive-through penalty now, unless it's a stop go. I'm not 100% sure what the criteria is for a jump start. Look at that now. That's Ben White setting the fastest lap of the race. Zemstra back in the lead from Chris, from Van der Plat, from Clog, from White.
Well, it's fiercely forward at the front. That was terrible. John Tusting is in this very, very interesting battle with Hans Polman's on his inside at the moment, as he's got Philip Russell right in front of him. Well, he definitely nearly rustled the back of that Formula 3 car off the ground there, did John, in the Quantum Racing machine. Gets a great view of this battle. Our good mate at Simracersworld TV, Hans Polman's of Flemish Sim Sports. Down the inside of Fordzilla's Philip Russell. Philip will be ruining the fact that I caught the incident at Watkins Glen on camera, and the fact I still go on about it. But look at this now, close together, a bit of smoke in front, maybe just a lock up from one of the guys near the top end of the order. John Tusting takes a late apex to get a good run out the corner, lights up the rears a little bit, has to get off the throttle, but Hans Polman's is importantly in front of Philip Russell. Philip is in 8th place though, so John really is the one that needs to get the work done here, and these two in front fighting, that's not helping their case, is it, Jack?
No, it isn't at all, and it's leaving John Tusting all of the time in the world to decide where he's going to do it. You could see there, that was Russell having a little look up the inside, look for the cutback, ran wide on the exit, but he's managed to hold it, and Polman's now back down into 8th place. They're struggling to decide who wants 7th place at the moment. John Tusting more than happy just to keep watching. Look at that, going from left to right there for Polman's. A bit of a blink there from Russell, so that could maybe slightly distract Polman's. John Tusting, what a comeback, read the situation perfectly, did get past Polman's, but I did think he hit him. He does have front wing damage, does Tusting, but Polman's with suspension damage, and hopefully he can get that fixed. Otherwise, that car is once again destined for retirement.
That's not my frame rate being funny, everybody. That is unfortunately a damaged car. That was the tiniest of touches. Like, the tiniest of touches. It was fantastically judged by John Tusting, but he barely touched him. That's such a shame for Hans, man. Hans will be fuming with that as well, because he had a very, very odd situation at Watkins Glen where a car in front jumped at the start of the race. He was stationary and the other car was about 4 car lengths back, and it broke his rear suspension on the grid. So he's not had the best of luck this season with damage, but purple times everywhere at the minute. Well, I say that, except 2 sectors. By Kevin Zemstra, his countryman and teammate Jacco van der Plat has done 2 purple sectors on that last lap as well, sectors 3 and 4. So Fiercely Forward are definitely heading fiercely forward to the feature. We've got 4 precision class drivers and 4 consistency class drivers going through as things stand here, Jack. But the academy drivers, you know, they'll still be repping it in the Consolation race.
They will indeed. They've got 11 laps of racing to decide who will get into that feature race. Of course, much like the heat races, the top 8 from the Consolation race do get an entry into the feature race. You can, I've heard, you can do it without a pit stop, with fuel saving, however, and then that's where strategy comes into it. That's the first time we see it throughout the night. But of course, the feature race, you do have to make a stop. But the Consolation race, it's all down to, do you sit behind the car, try and save as much fuel as possible and long haul it to the end? But then that is a very big risk. If you run out of fuel, you're going to be left without a feature race. Do you just dive into the pit lane, get the pit stop done and come back out? It's so down to speculation, and I'm sure Fiercely Forward haven't even had to worry about strategy for the moment this evening. They've been very comfortably sat up in the top 4 in Heat 2. Zemstra leading the way still from Chris van der Plat Clog. White is just about able to see them up the road. Closest cars we've got on circuit at the moment, I think, is actually, Craig Schill and Adam Osawala for SCCR by Delta Sport. And you mentioned a new livery. What was the livery like before this?
It was the very garish neon green and purple and red car before this, the SCCR machine, but they've gone for this much cleaner, sort of slightly off-white and orange machine. Well, it says XD Racing on the car, and I'm not sure whether I've not been informed of a team change, although I think it might have been the team change, and it was one of the changes from last week that didn't seem to carry over in the software for some reason. I'm really not sure why it did that. I'm sorry, everybody. Oh no, John Tusting's off. John is going to drop out of the top 8 and a feature race position. Now, did he fall? Well, did he jump? Or was he pushed? Let's have a look, Jack.
So down in towards the hairpin we go. Nobody's around him. Does he just lock up, touches the grass, and, whoa, carries on. So whether he was otherwise occupied and had a little look down at his Delta, but he's going down towards where you'd brake. It's like he just lost brakes. He didn't really touch the brakes until he was already off the road. That is an incredibly odd incident. I'm sure we'll be able to speak to John a little later on to find out what happened there, but it's almost like he had a bit of a brake failure on the way in. But we've still got 3 Fiercely Forward cars all battling it out, and I'm sure they're thinking, hang on a minute, we're supposed to be in the same team and in the same class, but where's he going? Zemstra, miles up the road now.
Yeah, it was a bit of a strange one, that. It was almost like a screen blackout or something. And he just couldn't see because, you know, like you say, he was still on the brakes, albeit a bit later, and he was still changing down. So it's not like he had a wheel failure or anything because, you know, the car didn't go arrow straight. It was still moving about, but yeah, very, very odd one for me, that. It certainly looked like a hardware failure, but not the type that we expect. Now here's the bright yellow-wheeled Brian Loynes, or Bright Loynes as he should be called. He's unfortunately down in 15th place at the moment with only Sammy Venables behind him. He's been in the pits in this race, obviously, after the earlier incident. Same with Marco Viotta, Hans Polmans as well, having that damage repaired. He'll be absolutely gutted. Well, Hansy, I mean, I'm gutted for him. You know, he's such a great laugh, such a funny guy. But, I mean, what can you say about Fiercely Forward here, Jack? You know, we always do say strength in numbers, but these guys are proving it at the minute. To be fair, they haven't really needed each other. They've not needed to defend from anything, or there's not really been an attack anywhere near them. It's just been really good team consistency.
It has, and that's when I think just that the seat time does play a part, because I'm guessing all of these guys, they've had group practice sessions. They've spent the time looking at each other's laps and how they place the car, where they turn in, where they brake, everything like that. So they're so closely matched, and they're more than happy just to sit and follow each other around. I'm not sure whether that was just me, but I thought I heard metal dragging on metal. And I think, who was that? No, John Tusting hasn't been off the road again. That's what it says over on the event viewer. So I'm not sure what happened there. Maybe a car bottoming out at some point. But there is Matthias Groen Watts being followed by the recovering John Tusting. Let's hope he doesn't have any more issues as we do go on to the final lap of the race now, Chaz.
Yes, indeed. We have white flag in the air for Kevin Zemstra. It's been a fantastic performance from him so far. Really, really strong stuff. Quick as ever. Round the, what I'm going to describe as the horrible first section of this lap. It's so difficult to drive, so difficult to get right. I remember doing some GT3 racing here and it was just, I was so miserable. It was just one of them races. I was just, oh, do we have to go around again? Every single time. Must mention as well, we've got Ben White chasing this group down. Victor Blick is going through at the moment as well. And to be honest, how good does that sort of dark blue look on the Simracersworld livery? Really breaks it up, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's not something you tend to think. If you've got the black, maybe you don't think, oh, we'll put dark blue on it, but it really does. It makes the orange look that much brighter, and it makes the black look that much darker. It's not something you would initially put together, but it really does work together well. Philip Russell with a similarly coloured livery. Jesus, I do need to put my teeth back in. Let's hope that let's hope that the break does help. I'll go away for a cup of tea, of course. But there is Greg Parmenter in the slightly what looks like a misshaped Sim Stickers livery, but it does look nice. All the different angles, breaks up the livery beautifully. Osiwala still following along, and I'm sure Zemstra now is driving towards the line.
Yeah, just going through the right-hander, foot flat to the floor, and this is going to get him second place on the grid in the feature, which we all know is so important. If anybody's going to go after Adrian Falcon tonight, we've got some fantastic candidates. But Kevin will have loved that performance. It's not the way he would have wanted to win it with Sammy Venables, but let's face it, Sammy put up a fight when he was out on track, but it did not stop Kevin Zemstra in taking the second win of the night. Beautiful drive. Crisp. Van der Plaat, Josh Clogg fiercely forward. Take a bow. 1, 2, 3, 4. Ben White wins the consistency class in that race. And Greg Parmenter is on to go through in 8th, or is Osiwala going to take it the line? He does get it, does Parmenter. Goes through. That's how close it gets, ladies and gents. Let's have a look at the gap. Let's have a look at the interval. That'll tell us more. Oh, apparently 4:10. Oh, yeah, the start-finish line's a lot earlier down. Never mind, shut up, Chaz. But still, incredibly close to the line. Still very exciting. Although I've got it down to 600ths of a second, actually, on the timing screen. So that was right to the death, but Kevin Zemstra, what a drive that was. And all of the fiercely forward boys, they just nailed it from the get-go, didn't they?
They did indeed. Did everything that they had to do. And I don't want to say the race came to them, but it did pretty much. Sammy Venables, he had that jump start. He was looking so good from pole position. And, of course, then having that jump start didn't really give him the best recovery start after he'd done that. So already had his mind taken off it. But pulls over to the right-hand side of the circuit, make sure he jumps on the brakes, put that race behind him. But we've now got, without any break, of course, we are straight into the Consolation race. 11 laps of racing on the go. Tim Rutten currently on pole position with Adam Osiwala alongside. Daniele Giudici has Craig Schill for company on row 2. Then it's Ashley Bird, Matthias Groen, Stefan Grabowski, John Tusting, Victor Balea, Hans Polmans, Phil Reagan, Marco Viota. And then we have Victor Blair. Where are we? There we go. Elizabeth Rodriguez, Sammy Venables, Khan Ewan, Brian Loynes, Paul Godden, Ryan James, Ben Hoffman, and Bart Daleman rounds out the grid, I believe, right the way down in 20th place.
Yes, indeed. Bart will not be happy with that one. Not quite sure what happened and why Bart didn't take to the grid in the first one. But either way, a long way down. But no rest for the wicked here, Jack. We've got the orange machinery on the front row. Tim Rutten will be looking for a definite position in that feature race after a tough start tonight. Victor Balea back out there for this race. Probably just given something a fix just to see whether he can get back out there and use up what internet he has. Fingers crossed it works. But either way, the Consolation race is underway. Tim Rutten decides he doesn't want the clutch in his Formula 3 car anymore. Launches off the line. Ashley Beard's got a great start. 2 places getting around the outside already into turn 1. Bit of a wider angle so we can see everything that goes on. Craig Schill's on the inside playing it nice and safe. Look at how slow they go in the middle of the corner. 4 wide in the middle there. Nearly contact. That was Hans Polmans. Oh, there is contact. John Tusting is off. Craig Schill is dropping positions as well. We've also got Mark Elviota off the circuit as well. Oh, there's cars around. More of them. That's Mattis Groen. He is going to groan about that one. Victor Balea in that. That's not going to go down well at all. But it's Tim Rutten at the front of the pack there, Jack. And look at that. Behind Ashley Beard now. 1.6 seconds to Stephen Grabowski. That's really ripped a hole in the field.
It has indeed. The top three, all three of them different classes. So this is where we'll start to see the class differentiation. Turn 3, I think that was a slight netcode there for iRacing UK. Craig Schill backwards then once again. The SimStickers car gets elbowed towards the outside of the circuit, and it's just very similar incidents, just slight taps. Great avoidance driving there from a couple of drivers working their way through, but it's all just the rear coming around, slight taps, and it comes around, happens once, happens again at turn 2, and then down in towards turn 3 we go, and I guarantee it will happen again. So we've got a car right the way off to the right hand side. Look at this, Elizabeth Rodriguez, incredibly quick reactions, and does manage to avoid the stationary F3 car and continue on back up to Sammy Venables now.
10 places gained so far for Sammy Venables, now 11, up into 3rd place in 1 lap. From 14th on the grid. What a first lap by Sammy Venables. Honestly, before this race is done, we might have to go back and watch it. Grabowski's in the pits, so too is Polmans as well. And Ashley Beard has just taken the lead of the race off Adam Ossioala. Adam's not going to let him live that one down, though. He's going to try and go back at him. But we've lost a number of cars early on now. And don't forget, once again, everybody, the top 8 of this consolation race go through. Now, there is a pit stop to be had, so I'm wondering whether Grabowski and Polmans have picked up damage and they're using it early on to get the fuel in the car to take them all the way to the end of the race. Because you do only need a splash, really. The cars can make it to the end, I believe. We did get sent notes by Bart Daleman. I promised Bart that I do not ignore them. To be fair, max fuel capacity in the car is 33%. That's 15 laps. So, in the long race, in the feature race, they will need to fuel save if they do not want to stop. But in this consolation race, they could probably get to the end. So maybe it's just getting rid of the damage that's important for those guys that are in, Jack.
Yeah, I think that that is going to be the case. Looking back from Brian Loynes now, you can see Phil Reagan being hounded by Tim Rutten as well. So at the moment, it's 3, 4, 5th spot, and Khan Newen is the driver on the edge at the moment in 8th place. Look at that, though. Tim Rutten having a big look around the outside of Phil Reagan through the Schumacher S. Not somewhere you tend to see too wide action, but I think he's managed to make it stick now. He's going to have to be later on the brakes in towards this left-hander at turn 10. They do make contact. Tim Rutten elbowed out to the outside of the circuit, and that is suspension damage, and that car will be heading back to the pit lane. Let's have another look at what happened here with Elizabeth Rodriguez. I think that was just locking up very slightly at the rear and then changing down too quickly, just rotated the rear of the car. You've seen this more than I have, Chaz, so talk us through what you think.
Yeah, just when you're a little bit late on the brakes, it's so easy to just think, oh no, I need to jab the brakes, and they run quite a rearward brake bias, so the back end can just go around, especially when you're on your way into a corner like that. It is the tiniest of touches, but it did, as Damien Hurst has just put in the chat, it did look like a lot of netcode there for Tim Rutten, I'm afraid. I'll go on the chopper cam. Yeah, they were barely anywhere near. You know, you could argue that Tim did close the gap a little bit early. He didn't completely get rid of the overlap on Phil Reagan. You know, they were still side by side, but at the same time, there should not have been said contact. I think the sim got that wrong. Matisse Groen going across the chicane. Daniele Giudici's just gone off as well. What Peter Mackay and I call the happiest man in sim racing. That car is not behaving itself, and I think Daniele got a bit sick of it. Yes, he did. Straight back to the pits. As we catch him live having the same issue. Matisse Groen having a spin around. Ben Hoffman's gone off as well. No one wants to finish this race, Jack, but Sammy Venables does. 12 places gained, up to second. 1.9 seconds to Ashley Beard. We saw James Forsythe have a wonderful consolation race at Interlagos last time. Do you think Sammy could genuinely win this race?
I think if he puts his mind to it, and of course we've still got plenty of racing still to go in this consolation race, he will be able to do it, because he's gapped Adam Ossioala by over a second now since he's got past him, and 1.4 seconds up the road is Ashley Beard. That gap has come down 2/10 of a second since we last looked. He's got the fastest lap of the race. He set a purple sector 3 this time through, and then heading up towards I think that was actually sector 4 we've just gone through, so he set a purple sector 4 this time through as well. Ben Hoffman using all of the circuit trying to chase down Rodriguez up the road, and then heading in towards, he had to take a little lift through there, so I'm not sure what happened, whether he's got a bit of damage on that car or he looked up and realised, oh god, the track goes that way, but Yeah, a little bit of a lift there, so slightly off colour from Ben Hoffman. Another fastest lap of the race, over a second quicker than the car in front is Venables now.
Elite Works Media saying, come on, sendables for Sammy Venables. But Ben Hoffman, interestingly, did a purple sector 1 on this lap that he's just completed now. He has gained over a second and a half on Elizabeth Rodriguez on that lap. Ben Hoffman, channeling his inner Sebastian Vettel with that lid, is absolutely on a mission. But look, the gap now is 7 tenths, 6 tenths, 5 tenths of a second from Beard to Venables. Beard really needs to think about this now, and I mean, it may only be one grid position difference, but you still want the bragging rights of winning at least one of the races tonight.
Yeah, he's really pushing on now, definitely going quicker. Last time through, fastest lap of the race overall, and a purple sector 3, 4 and 5. He's just set a purple sector 2. He's on an absolute mission within that half a second gap, and of course he will have the draft assistance as well through the Schumacher-S. Maybe something you don't quite want is the dirty air that will be generated off the tail end of the Altitude XZ Esports machine. Now heading up towards turn 10. What can Venables do? Look how much he closes up on the brakes so much later, doesn't use quite as much curb through there, maybe trying to defend the floor of the car. Of course, that is so crucial to the downforce produced by these Dallara F3 cars. Now up the back straight we go. He is closing, that gap is coming down a little bit too far back for a maybe you can hear him lifting there in towards the chicane. And coming out this final corner, Chaz, out of turn 15, what do you think he'll do? Set himself up for turn 1 or just try and sit behind and force the mistake?
I think the stadium section at the start of the lap is going to be where he's going to get it done. He'll get a bit of slipstream here that'll drag him back up. It is only half a second back, so you know how strong the slipstream is in these cars. Fastest lap of the race again by Venables, 4 tenths quicker than Beard. Really flying Viota with a 51.8 as well. He's been quick, but what Venables will do now is set himself up through here. There's so many different lines that you can take through this section. You've just got to be very clever with what you're doing. Very, very close to the grass on the inside there. Doesn't look like too much in a minute. You know, he knows that he's got a lot of time left in this race, and he knows that he's got the superior pace at the minute, so he doesn't have to worry too much about getting it done straight away, but you have to take your chances, in my opinion, and you know, I know that Sammy Venables, obviously with the nickname Sendables, it's very apt. Mark Fletcher in the chat, good to see you, mate. 8 people go through from this Consolation to the feature. They make up the last 8 spots on the grid. And Sammy Venables started this race in 14th position, and by the end of lap 1 was up to 3rd. Unbelievable stuff. But still, this great chase goes on. Even further back though, Jack, we've got Mark Alviota attacking Adam Ossioala for 3rd.
We do indeed. So this is for the final step on the podium. Viota set the move up through the Schumacher-S. Defending is Ossioala in towards turn 10.
Wow.
Look at that move, if he can get that slowed down. What a move. He does indeed, take the exit curb. That has got to be up there for move of the season. Miles later on the brakes, somehow found the grip on the outside. Now back under pressure from Ossioala. If he can keep that position up towards the chicane. A bit of a wobble there from the number 220 machine. Later on the brakes once again is Viota. He's managed to keep that position, and he has managed to get himself on the podium. And wow, I can't get my head around how he found the grip, how he found the performance out of that car there.
That was just absolutely wonderful, wasn't it? Let's see it again. Pulls out to the right-hand side. Nothing too dramatic about that, but look at it on the brakes. Reminds me of that old footage of Nigel Mansell going around the outside of Gerhard Berger in Mexico. Just flies around, finds this uncharacteristic amount of grip. And for a driver that can't see over the steering wheel by the look of it, he's doing a wonderful job. Fastest lap of the race by Ben Hoffman. I told you, Ben is on a real charge at the minute. He's now within a second of Khan Newen. And, of course, within a second of going through to the feature race. Elizabeth Rodriguez in the pits. Same too with Craig Schill. But what a drive by Sammy Venables so far. As Damien Hurst again says in the chat. Can you read my mind, Damien? But either way, always a bit of smoke up ahead. Not sure if someone's had an issue there or just a lock-up where there's lap traffic. But this chase is going to be very, very intriguing. Now, something iRacing added in recently that I noticed was that the open wheel cars, their driver's head bobbles about a lot more. You know, the driver's head used to be very, very motionless, but now the head bobbles around a little bit in the cockpit. You'll notice it more with Ashley Beard's car with the bright yellow lid. But it does bobble around quite a lot in the cockpit. Sammy Venables, though, he don't care about no head bobbling at the minute. All over the back of Ashley now. And Beard is a good battler. Oh, sorry. That's what happens when you click the wrong button, you know. Beard's a good battler. I'm not a very good broadcaster. But still, Sammy Venables now is going to start putting him under pressure. Ash knows it. He's going defensive already here, Jack. Is that a sign of weakness, or is that just the right thing to do at this moment in time?
I think it's more or less the opposite for Ashley Beard. It's almost a sign of strength in my mind, because he's showing that while he is fully aware that Venables is on his way and he's on an absolute charge, he ain't going to let him by. He's going to defend this position, and he's going to make sure he has to prove his worth and get past Ashley Beard properly, whether it be later on the brakes or does grab the apex. He has a little look to the inside. Viota with the fastest lap of the race, a 150.880. Sammy Venables went in for the apex, got slightly cut up by Ashley Beard, but it's still Beard leading Venables. And like I say, Viota, that is one hell of a lap. The only driver this entire race, I think, to break into the 150 mark, apart from Ben Hoffman.
I think it's because his helmet's not blocking the aero in the car. But yeah, Viota flying, really flying at the moment. Ben Hoffman is now within half a second of Khan Newen as well. So he's going to try and get through and, of course, get himself into the final. Now, I had tried to notice the difference between the Altitude XZ Esports car and just the XZ Racing Machine. It's just that the white nose is white instead of pink. Sendables! Sammy, Sendables, Vendables, what a move! Venables, sorry. Unbelievable stuff. Beard around the outside of the Schumacher S's now. Then it's going to be the inside for the left. Venables needs to leave the room. They both do. It's very, very feisty stuff. Venables ahead and down the inside and to the left. Is Beard going to try and get some sort of cutback, make it work for the second part of the corner? He doesn't take as wide a line as you'd expect, although it does look like he's got a good run there. He's going to have the slipstream again now, Jack. We've only got 4 laps to go. I'm not sure they can survive if they race like they had there. Now, Ash is hanging back a bit, maybe. That was interesting. Yeah, he's not on full chat here. He's making Sammy defend. He's going to a place now, but he's going to just make sure he gets a really good line. Sammy hits the curb. Ash does indeed. Oh, he gets a good run through the first part, but not the second bit. And that's hindered him. I think he's just waiting for the slipstream. It's an easier manoeuvre, isn't it?
Yeah, it's one of them things that I know, being in both the aggressor and the defending situation, Ashley Beard, I would do exactly the same. I would just lift off, force the driver in front to think you're going to go for the move. You then go defensive, slightly outbrake yourself. Of course, you've got less track to play with on the inside. You lock up, you miss the apex. A slight mistake, anything like that from Venables, will give Ashley Beard the key to get through. And he is playing the waiting game at the moment, just hoping that mistake comes. Of course, he hasn't got too long to wait. Only 4 laps of the race remaining, including the one we're on at the moment. Here is Matthias Krohn looking to get past Grabowski for 10th place at the moment. And I think a little further up the road again, we do have Khan Newen battling away with Ben Hoffman. I think those two, have they just swapped positions? They have, and that is the key to the door of the feature race. Oh,
apologies. Here you go. This is how Ben did it. Nice textbook stuff down the inside. And Caitlin Haight pointing out that Ash Beard might be saving fuel so he doesn't have to stop. That's a very, very good point indeed. Coming back to what I was saying before, though, that's the XZ Racing car, obviously the magenta or pink nose. And then if you look at Ash Beard's car, it's literally just that it's got the Altitude XZ Esports logo on the back, and it's just got the white nose instead for Altitude Esports primary colour. I do have the gains up on the left-hand side. Sammy Venables, 13 places gained at the moment, is just an unbelievable drive. Mega stuff. Bearing in mind he gained 11 of those places on the very first lap. You've got Brian Loynes, who's gained 11 places. His teammate Paul Godden, who's gained 10. And then Ben Hoffman, who we were looking at there, has gained another 11 places. Those 4, very incredible. To be fair, Viota's gained 9, Reagan's gained 5. You know, there's no driver in that top 8 that isn't deserving of a spot before I say that. But honestly, what a performance by those guys to gain that many places. And to do it in such a short race, Jack, it's so much pressure to get it done in that amount of time. Yeah,
it is indeed. Of course, not to take away from what a great feat that Venables, Loynes, Godden and Hoffman have produced out of this race. There have been a number of incidents, of course. However, to avoid those incidents, get through, get a level head, and then get back to it is a completely different thing. So to still gain all those positions really is quite a task. And the times are really starting to tumble down as well. Ben Hoffman, purple sector 2 and sector 4. Who's that? Brian Loynes with a purple sector 1. So while initially we did get those good laps in, now we're starting to see the drivers that maybe didn't get the best start, slightly held up by the slower cars, and of course maybe didn't have the best feature race, so they're left with quite a busy consolation race. Those drivers really starting to push the limits now, drive the car on the edge of adhesion. We've got a car backwards. I think that was John Tusting. Maybe it was indeed Quantum Racing Team's number 199 backwards. They're coming out of the right-hander on the run down to the hairpin. Let's see what happened.
Oh, just clips the curb, unsettles the car. As you said before, Jack, you've got to avoid those curbs because they can not just damage the car, but they can just pitch you into a spin. These things are all about being close to the ground. As soon as they get unsettled and they hit a curb the wrong way, they just go even over a crest. You know, they can break traction, a bit of air gets under the car, and it is away. That was more of a sort of mechanical suspension behaviour sort of spin rather than an aerodynamic one. But either way, these two don't need to worry about that at the minute. It's been awesome from Sammy Venables. I'm just really hoping that he has the fuel to make it to the end if he can complete this victory. But Ashley Beard is going to push him all the way. That's one thing we can guarantee. And whether Ash is doing this to save fuel or not, if he was, it'd be an amazing strategy. Mark Alviota is catching up with these guys, you know. The gap was over 3 seconds before. It's now, well, it's about to go back up to 3 seconds after that last corner. But another fastest lap of the race from Beard. 50.6, 50.7 for Venables, so still incredibly close. Sammy actually feeling the need to go defensive through turn 1. Beard is putting the pressure on here. It seems to me like they may have realised, you know, we've only got 2 laps left now, we can make it on the fuel, but I'm no scientist or mathematician, Jack, so I'm not sure at this point, but I suppose there's only one way to find out.
Yeah, absolutely. They've got to drag the car to the line, and whoever makes it is going to be, of course, the one that can take top honours in this consolation race. And of course, they've still got the feature race to go with the 5-minute break in between. But if you think about it, if you've done Heat 2 and you haven't got through to the feature race, you've then got this consolation race, you've got a 5-minute break, and if you finish well enough in this race, you've got the feature race. So it's going to be very busy for anybody working their way up from Heat 2. Here is the 2 XZ racing teammates of Phil Regan and Ben Hoffman. And judging off Ben Hoffman's race performance so far, while he is only a quarter of a second back from his teammate, he's going to have a big look up the inside. I've never seen a Formula 3 car change direction that quickly and not end up pointing backwards. And I think while Ben Hoffman has got through, he's left his teammate Phil Regan vulnerable to Paul Godden. Looking around the outside, we've seen cars go 2 by 2 through the Schumacher S1s. Paul Godden looks to the left, looks to the right, looks to the left once again, throws him the dummy out to the outside. Paul Godden, is he later on the brakes? He will have more curb to use, but it will shallow up his exit. He does get that position made this time through. So Paul Godden up into 7th place. Phil Regan still in the feature race promotion zone. However, Kyle Newen is just sat behind, and he is lapping very marginally quicker than the car ahead. So for the moment, he's not quite out of the woods, is Phil Regan.
No, indeed. We're on to the final lap. Oh, he's definitely not out of the woods. He's just locked up the front. Beard does another fastest lap of the race. Oh, and Phil's lit up the rears again. Oh, it's all gone to pot for Phil Regan. Maybe just a bit flustered there by the battle going on around him. Beard still on the back of Sammy Venables. Now, they both just need to finish. They don't need to do anything ridiculous or anything over the top here because they're going to get into the feature. We've had a moment for Craig Schill, I'm afraid. Just down into turn 1. Oh, just in a bit too hot. And it's nice and stable getting back on, but oh, he lights up the rears on the grass and the car goes around. Now, this is for the last spot in the top 8. They just need to worry, well, they don't need to worry about much. Phil Regan's 8 seconds back now, so it's just going to be an incident that takes anybody out of this, Jack, but this battle for the lead still goes on, though. I'm thinking that Beard's going to try and get this at the very end here, but I don't think it's going to be pretty.
Now, we've seen him lifting off down the back straight, and that has kept him behind, and we know that Sammy Venables is willing to go defensive into the NGK chicane, turns 13 and 14. What will he do this time through? Ashley Beard using all the curb and a little bit more. We've seen him not take as many prisoners using all this curb around Nurburgring. Onto the back straight we go. Not the best of runs onto the back straight for Beard. Venables does get slightly more momentum off the corner. Now look at the draft assistance really starting to play a part. The number 95 looks very slightly to the left, looks a lot to the left. Venables forced defensive, will compromise his entry, and then of course his exit. Ashley Beard looks for the cutback, bogs down slightly, having to lift off to avoid the incident. Turn 15 on its way. What can either of them do, Chaz?
Doesn't look like too much from Beard, but he's going to get a really good run out the final corner. He's going to push Venables all the way to the line, but Sammy Venables, what a drive, takes the win in the consolation race. 13 places gained. That's a masterpiece of driving. Villota, well, completes the 1-2-3 with the car. 1-2-3 in that consolation race. Brian Loynes finishes 4th after 12 places gained. That's a mega result. Adam Osiawala just finishing ahead of Ben Hoffman. Take a bow, sunshine. There's another one of the bingo cards. Carn Newen gets through in 7th. That's another Academy driver in the feature race. Paul Godden 8th and Phil Reagan. You have to feel sorry for Phil after that one. He tried so hard there, Jack, and it just did not work for him in the end, I'm afraid. Just that little bit of pressure is all it took to really sort of undo his hard work earlier on.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I mentioned it in Heat 2. I've been in that situation where you are the driver on the verge of promotion to the feature race or demotion to the paddock for the rest of the evening, and it happened to me and it happened to Phil Reagan. Just one mistake leads to another, and then it all comes unravelled and you're left without a feature race entry. So like you say, I do massively feel for Phil Reagan just missing out on that feature race.
Yeah, massive shame that, but either way, still strong racing from everybody. Really enjoyed watching that. Here's our good mate Craig Schill just coming into the final corner in his wonderful JL Designs machine, the iRacing UK livery, very bright and colourful with the chrome iRacing UK logo. Still pulls it over to the pit wall as if you were waving at the team when you cross the line. I love doing that. I absolutely love doing that when you finish a race, no matter where you are. But that is going to be our heat races and consolation races done with. We will take a very quick look at the results. This was the first heat of the night, so don't forget the top 8 from this one going through. We've got Adrian Falcon, Arthur Fry, James Forsythe, Ross Nicholson, Caitlin Haight, Wayne Palmer, Louis Correa and Taylor Lane. Tim Rutten and Daniele Giudici just missing out on that one there. From the second heat, we have Kevin Zemstra, Matthew Crisp, Jaco van der Plat, Josh Clogg, Ben White, Victor Blick, Philip Russell and Greg Parmenter in the Academy class. I just want to quickly check again. Sorry, I don't think we didn't have any Academy class drivers from the first heat. So from the consolation race, we have 2 more of them. Sammy Venables, an awesome victory, only 54 thousandths of a second ahead of Ashley Beard, with Markel Villota, Brian Loynes, Adam Osiawala, Ben Hoffman, Carn Newen and Paul Godden joining them in what's going to be an epic feature race, Jack. I'm really excited to see what these guys can do in that one.
Yeah, it's one of the best circuits for Formula 3 action. I think you were here for the ADAC Formula 4 Championship for
yes.
For the Nurburgring 24 hours. So you've seen what the drivers can do of this sort of class in this sort of machinery. And I'm sure with 16-lap race, strategy to think about, and drivers of all experiences and all sorts of inter-team rivalries, of course, with 4 firstly forward cars getting through in Heat 2, and of course rivalries that have carried on from Season 1 and Season 2 into Season 3. It's going to be one hell of a night.
Yes, indeed. It really is. But obviously, you know what time it is, everybody. Jack and I are just going to take a quick 5-minute break just to make sure we're still hydrated. Jack's going to put his teeth back in, and we'll be back with you for what is going to be a wonderful feature race. We'll see you in a few. Hello again, everybody. Chaz Draycott and Jack Werrell here on Simracersworld TV for the Simracersworld Formula 3 Series, the Sim Stickers Simracersworld Formula 3 Series. You'll think by now I'd get the name right of it. We've got the wonderful Jack Werrell with us in the box this evening. Jack, it's obviously your first time commentating on this championship. You've raced in it before. You've seen just how mayhem can unfold here and how fantastic the racing can be as well. What have you made of commentating on it so far, mate?
It's everything I thought it'd be and a lot more, really, because it's the drivers that like you say, I've raced wheel to wheel with, and I've watched the streams back, and I've thought, wouldn't it be great just to almost take a back seat, not have to worry about the racing, and just sit and watch, and of course explain what you see. That's all we really do as commentators, say what we see. And my God, they've given us a lot to talk about this evening. John Tusting in chat just letting us know that when he did go off the road down at the hairpin, he did have a screen blank. He had a slight issue with his headset by the sounds of it, and then the screen just went black and off he went. So such an unlucky little incident. And of course, while we can't have massive mechanical failures, you can't have engine blow-ups or some sort of electrical issue in the car in the simulator. You can have, of course, hardware issue, and that is somewhat simulated because of that, which is also another little aspect of the leagues, which it adds a little something which you don't quite expect. And of course, John Tusting, I'm sure he was taken by surprise when you go in, you jump on the brakes, go to turn in, and well, you can't see anything. Yeah,
it's very true. It's kind of useful to be able to see where you're going and see what's happening around you in motorsport, but either way, we do hope, of course, John, that we see you back strong in another race very soon. Kevin Zemstra's just gone fastest by nearly half a second and then put it in the pits. So of course this is the big nose cone waving contest that we have in the warm-up session, but either way, entertaining to watch. It's just great to see these cars around here, and as you said before, very correctly, Jack, I have seen Formula 4 racing here in person before, and it was just fantastic. You know, it was a half wet, half dry race as well. It started raining near the end, and it was just amazing. And even these guys, you know, in the dry, in much quicker machinery. I mean, Formula 3 cars are very fast indeed. We have had some epic racing. Ben Hoffman was one of the real stars in that previous race. I'm very pleased for Caitlin Haight as well. Caitlin's had a very rough season, a lot of incidents. She's been very frustrated with what's been going on this season. So hopefully, I've got my fingers crossed for some good luck for her in this feature race. She had a great heat, really consistent. So let's hope, let's get the 100 emojis for car 100 in this feature race. But only a matter of seconds to go now, Jack, and based on what you've seen so far this evening, have you got your eye on anyone?
Of course, I've got to go with the usual sort of contenders up at the top end of the order. Of course, we do sometimes get a few drivers which we don't normally see up there, but the usual ones, it's going to have to be Adrian Falcon, Arthur Fry, James Forsyth. I don't think we've got Bart Daleman out this evening, Kevin Zemstra, and Matthew Crisp a little further down than I was expecting. However, in the heat, I should say. However, I'm hoping that he can bring it to his teammate up at the front.
Well, you never know, do you? We're going to just let the grid filter through here because there is a lot of them. And they do grid up very fast in this one. They do just want to crack on and get on with the racing. But what a wonderful grid we have. Lots of different classes represented as well. 3 drivers in the Academy class. And it's so important when you're in the Academy class to get through into the feature race. So many more points on offer here than getting knocked out in the Consolation race. Or even, you know, finishing at the bottom or even not finishing the Consolation. So Greg Parmenter, the highest placed in the Academy class. There he is in the SimStickers racing car. But we're ready to get going here for round 5 of the SimStickers Simracersworld Formula 3 Series. Champion on pole, Zemstra alongside him. And they're underway. Good initial launch from the pair of them. Taylor Lane has had an absolute lightning start once again through the middle of the field. I saw him come up on my timing screen as just an absolute rocket ship. Who's going to get caught in strife? Who's going to behave themselves? It looks very well behaved at the moment, to be fair. Oh, I say that Greg Parmenter has dropped down. He's actually now not the highest placed Academy class driver. That's Adam Osiowala. Wider camera angles just helping us pick apart what's going on here. But to be fair, Jack, we normally do see a lot of mayhem in the start of these features. I will admit that. But it looks like nice and clean driving so far from everybody. But it's a ruddy big train.
It is indeed. Here is Victor Blick getting up the inside of Wayne Palmer. A bit of contact a little bit further back. Very well held by almost everybody involved. Brian Lloyd backwards across the track. He can't do anything about that. The rear end of the car looking very second-hand, and both the rear wheels have disconnected from the rest of the car. Arthur Fry now trying to defend from Kevin Zemstra. Matthew Crisp still sat there in third place. Matthew Crisp, who was that? That was actually, it was Kevin Zemstra. Yeah. Had a little bit of a gravelly moment through the Schumacher S. Does continue on without too much of an issue, but that has dropped him back into the clutches of Matt Crisp. But of course, Matt, he's playing rear gunner at this point because he's got Forsyth, Van der Plat and Clog to try and defend from Taylor Lane. Almost going off. Philip Russell is on the grass, but without too much of an issue, does rejoin safely and continues on.
Yeah, I just want to have a quick look at what other stuff went on further up the order. Viota went off the track. Oh, it was him that made the contact with Brian Loynes, I'm afraid. And then we had Philip Russell go off. Just after that, we've got a number of cars off. Sammy Venables, one of them. We will come to that in a second. Sammy Venables has gone around. Philip Russell did it all on his own. Then Louis Correa went off and had his own moment. He's now out of the race. He's in the yellow and black machine there. That is Sammy Venables with him as well. So what does Louis do? Sammy's down the inside. Oh, Louis loses it on his own. Sammy has a tap with Taylor Lane. Oh, Ben White's already off and Sammy Venables collects him. Oh, that's not the way that Sammy Venables' evening deserved to end. Mark Viota's had a nightmare and missed the pits. Oh, that's such a shame for Sammy Venables after such an amazing consolation race, Jack. That's just the worst.
It is indeed. It's just all started to go wrong for a few of the drivers. But for the moment, we do still have the battles raging away. This is Greg Parmenter almost making contact there with the tail end of Philip Russell's Team Ford Silla machine, but they both do continue on. And it's nice to see that while single-seaters tend to be the more fragile discipline of motorsport, they can still race it wheel to wheel, and 9 times out of 10, airbox to airbox when they get a little bit too close. However, it's still staying rather close up at the front, the top 8, all precision drivers. Taylor Lane, just the one out of place at the moment. That is because he's got who we're riding on board with in between himself and the cars up in front. Caitlin Hay doing a great job right the way up in 9th place. And like you say, after a season which hasn't quite gone away, this is really starting to pay off for her now.
Yeah, definitely. And a wonderful livery as well. The RSR eSport cars always do look absolutely fantastic. And Caitlin is making sure that thing goes as well as it looks at the moment. I'm still unsure of that bug with the helmet. That's very, very odd. I've never seen that before. I wonder whether it's something to do with people that have adjusted the driver height, maybe. You know, whether it's just rendered the helmet differently. But either way, Adrian Falcon, fastest lap of the race again. Just unbelievable. Arthur Fry repeating what he did in his heat race. Now, don't forget, Arthur started 3rd because he finished 2nd in his heat, but he was in the odd-numbered position heat, you could call it. So he started 3rd on the grid. He's had to overtake Kevin Zemstra, who won his heat, and would have started 2nd on the grid, as, you know, quick maths. But either way, fantastic stuff from the Brit, Arthur Fry. Adrian Falcon, though, heading towards extending his championship lead. He wants another title, and I tell you what, he's not far off grabbing one already. Ben Hoffman, he's got Victor Blick right behind him. Then Adam Osceola just in the distance there. He has only got 0.2 of a second, less than that now actually. Brace yourselves. There is Philip Russell. Now this is important for Adam. He needs to be careful not to get caught up in anything silly here because he's leading the Academy class ahead of Greg Parmenter. And Greg is only 2 places back. That is Sammy Venables down the inside of Victor Blick, unlapping himself. So talk about determination, Jack. Sammy's back out on track and just cracking on with it.
He is indeed, and we know he has got that pace, of course, with that win. And that was an incredibly driven race, hounded to the line by Ashley Beard. There is Osceola losing out almost to Russell, I think. Was that a change of position, or was that Russell actually just defending his position from
Russell got through.
Oh, he did get through, and that seems to be the place to do it, definitely, right the way up at turn 10. That is where it needs to happen. Here is Ashley Beard with damage, which has decided to miraculously appear and then disappear. Number 95 continues on. Yeah,
he had a little blink there, and he dropped down the order, which confused me, but he reappeared. Bit of damage, I think, from any movement the car had done while it was blinking away, but yeah, fortunately, like you say, it miraculously disappears in thin air and suddenly the car's repaired. I wish that would happen with real ones. Now, Philip Russell has been overtaken again by Adam Ossioala, so he's having to do it again down into turn 1. We've got a fantastic battle between these pair, but Adam does not want this to happen because Greg Parmenter is only there as his nearest rival in the Academy class. So Greg can see all this going on and he's thinking, right, maybe a class win on the cards here. You know, Adam's getting stuck in with Philip. He'll have his eye on Greg in the mirrors, but I mean, you and I both know, Jack, that when you're in a battle, you sometimes don't realise how quickly the car behind you is catching up. You just focus on what's happening in the battle. Yeah,
it seems like when you're in this situation, you're like, right, forget that the mirror's even there. Just focus on the car in front and push forward and focus on, of course, their own lines that you're taking as well. But then you cannot fight the urge just to have a quick peek up at your rearview mirror just to see how close they are.
Yeah.
And in Formula 3, it's definitely something you end up doing a lot more than what you expect, because 1 minute they can be half a second behind, the next minute they could be 2 seconds back, and then one slight mistake from you when they're right back on your gearbox again. So it seems like the SimStickers Formula 3 Championship definitely is not letting us down this evening with properly close racing. Looking back from Matthew Crisp now, we've still got James Forsythe following along, splitting up the fiercely forward pack. And of course, Adrian Falcon still up at the front, slowly starting to extend that gap. He does have the fastest lap of the race. However, do not rule out James Forsythe, who we were just looking at. He's set a purple sector 2 and 3, so he's really on a charge, and he's desperate to get past Matthew Crisp.
Whoa, look at that. Arthur Fry, 50.2. That's a corker of a lap there by Arthur. The guys are getting into the 50s now, so really strong pace. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a 49 by the end of the night, but that is blistering pace from Arthur Fry, definitely taking the fight to Adrian Falcon. The gap is just over a second, literally 0.02 of a second. So there's not really much of a margin in it at the moment, and Arthur has been leading the championship since round 1, except for the last race meeting where Adrian took another win. He's taken 3 on the bounce after Arthur Fry won the first round of the season, only because Adrian had the issues early on as well. He had a spin in his heat and ended up right near the back of the pack. Drove an unbelievable consolation race where I think he gained something stupid like 16 places in the first lap at Bathurst, and it was just monumental. Phil Reagan saying at least he can play Chaz Bingo now. Yeah, I'm not quite sure if anyone has got Bingo or anything yet. I will be checking the Simracersworld F3 Discord chat. But yeah, hopefully somebody has. Now, James Forsythe, he is stuck to the back of Matthew Crisp. I feel sorry for Matt here right now because his monitor's going to have to be rendering a hell of a lot of James in his mirror.
It will be indeed, and he's jumped out to the right-hand side, grabs the apex at the bottom of the hill. Back up the hill we go into the hard braking zone of the NGK chicane. Around the outside, does get the initial position, but you can see there Matthew Crisp looking for the cutback, and he is now almost in 5th place. He's not quite happy about it. He's really not happy just sitting there. Look at that, James Forsythe immediately over to the right-hand side of the circuit. Adrian Falcon with a 50.088. That's incredibly close to that 49 mark you mentioned a little earlier on, Chaz. And look at this, James Forsythe, he is on the inside, using all of the road. Later on the brakes, grabs the apex. But does Matthew Crisp carry the superior momentum on the slightly flatter surface? He does just about have the inside for turn 2. Can't quite get the overlap there once again. So now Forsythe in 4th place, or is it? I can't even say the position is secure, because all the time Matthew Crisp is looking at getting this position back. He looks for the cutback, can't quite get the superior momentum. He does have the assistance of his teammate behind now, chopping and changing left and right. Does get the inside once again now for turn 4. And we are out of the Mercedes arena, so into slightly more open sections of the circuit. Down the hill we go in towards the hairpin, and James Forsythe, after unbelievable attempts from Matthew Crisp trying to get that position back, is now in P4.
That was so much hard work by James Forsythe. Fair play. That was massive commitment and great determination to continue on with that. Absolutely love it. We have had Arthur Fry do a 149, but it did not count it as the fastest lap because I think he must have got an incident point or something, so it didn't count it as a clean lap, but he has done a 149.9. Adrian Falcon did a 150.09 last time round. So he's effectively got the fastest lap of the race, but Arthur Fry is now within a second. We've got this epic fight in front, and to be fair, I think the man that's going to be very happy at the minute is Kevin Zemstra, because he's in a bit of no man's land. He's got 3 seconds to these guys and nearly 3 seconds to the leaders, so he can just drive his race and get some good points if he carries on. But, oh, look at that now. Matthew Crisp into the pits. He goes for an early stop, trying the undercut potentially, Jack. They don't need to take much fuel in this race, so... Oh, look at that. 149.9s for Fry and Falcon. Arthur Fry's still quicker than him. He's now 8 tenths, but coming back to the pit stops, it's only going to be a splash and dash for these boys.
Yeah, it's not going to be a long pit stop at all. And like you say, Falcon and Fry both setting 1 minute 49s. Fry only 0.03 of a second quicker that time through. However, Adrian Falcon for Exodus Racing is still 0.75 of a second clear of Arthur Fry. So they've got to decide who is going to pit earlier. And of course, Arthur Fry, he's really the one deciding what happens in this situation. Because if he pits earlier, of course, by the time Adrian Falcon has seen Fry has dived into the pit lane, it's going to be too late for him to do anything about it. And if Falcon goes into the pit lane, Fry can maybe stay out for an extra lap or just follow him in. So Fry is the one deciding the complexion of this lead battle. He's there or thereabouts on pace with him at the moment, as we saw last time through. At points in the circuit, one driver's quicker than the other. However, they are so closely matched. Of course, Kevin Zemstra quite the distance back, 3 seconds away from Arthur Fry. James Forsyth a similar distance back from him. We do have Caitlin Haight under pressure now from Ashley Beard a little further back, with Wayne Palmer and Ben Hoffman coming along with them. This is for 9th place overall. They're getting closer and closer as we speak, and for the moment looks like Caitlin Haight is staying as is where they need to be. However, they are getting closer and closer again. So I'm just looking over at the timing screen. Caitlin Haight, Ashley Bird, Wayne Palmer, Ben Hoffman just about managing to stay in the same position. And now we've got Taylor Lane being dragged into this throughout no fault of his own. But now look at this, Ashley Beard on the inside of Caitlin Haight. Caitlin now down into 10th place in the number 100 machine, but he's getting closer and closer in the mid-pack. Another fastest lap of the race from Arthur Fry.
Flipping heck, I can't wait to hear your mixtape. Honestly, though, this is unbelievable stuff. Lane and Haight have both gone into the pit lane now. They've got out of that. They just thought, right, we need some clear air. You know, we both need to at least do something about this. Unfortunately, Philip Russell and Victor Blick have had an issue. Oh, a little bit of a touch. And, oh, more contact as they get together again. I think Victor Blick's car was broken. Again, Philip just seems to attract little bits of contact here and there, unfortunately, and it's just not been the smoothest of rides this season for him. Now, Adrian Falcon, I'm wondering whether he's going to be a little bit rattled here, because Arthur Fry has got some unbelievable pace around here at the Nurburgring. You know, he couldn't quite match him in the heat, but Arthur's turned something on here, and he is absolutely on a mission. So we could have a battle come the end of this. We're only halfway through this race as well, mate. This could go on the entire way through.
It could indeed, and of course we've still got pit stops to be had from both of these lead drivers. In fact, just looking over at the timing screen, the top 13 still yet to pit. Top 14 if you include Carl Newen in that. Godden and Osiwala changing position as well. So for the moment, dare I say it, it's slowly starting to settle all the drivers into their positions. But as soon as I say that, we're going to look over at a different battle. Someone will have made a mistake, maybe a slight lock-up, and then they're back once again, battling closer than we've ever seen them. And like you say, Falcon and Fry getting closer together, but it's not Falcon slowing down by any means. It's just Fry going quicker and quicker and quicker and quicker, and he's really starting to put challenge on for that lead. However, now I've said that, Adrian Falcon with the fastest lap of the race at 49.822. That is blisteringly quick time.
0.03 of a second difference, though, so the tiniest of differences. And actually, Arthur Fry is closer than before. So over the entire lap, he may not have been quicker, but I think the slipstream has helped him out quite a lot. You know, he is getting within a second and closing that gap bit by bit, although he's made a bit of a mess there through the left. The gap is now over a second, so that's changed pretty quickly. Out of all the cars that have pitted, we'll show you on the left-hand side, Ben Hoffman is currently the highest place, but he's on his way out of the pit lane, and yet Matthew Crisp goes through, so he is now the highest place driver that's pitted. But he's got Greg Parmenter in front of him, so he's going to get held up by a bit of traffic. Ben Hoffman still on his way out, down towards turn 1. He's got Caitlin Haight just behind. They were both involved in a battle earlier together, so back how they were. That's second and third in the consistency class as well, because Wayne Palmer is now leading that one. By the way, Osiwala, 11 places gained in this race so far. Ashley Beard is having some severe internet troubles. He's blinking in and out quite a lot. Phil Reagan saying great commentary as always. Thank you very much, mate. It's actually a pleasure to have Jack with us tonight as well. It's great to have a two-man team on this. It does... I must admit, well, I do love this series and I love commentating on solo broadcast. It does get difficult when you're on your own for this much frantic racing all the time. We have figured out the issue with this, by the way. There has been a screenshot in the Simracersworld TV Discord. I mentioned the head bobbling before, which you may see a little bit here from Ben Hoffman's driver, where the heads do move around a little bit. There, you can sort of see it there. Oh, Caitlin hates car. Oh, no. Ah, now when you're not looking at it, it fixes it. Look, you can see a helmet's there. And as soon as we... Whoop! That's fantastic. Oh, it's my new favourite thing. But basically what it's done is the head of the driver completely is like leant back like they're looking up on a dentist's chair, as if they're inspecting the inside of the airbox. So it's almost like the head bobbling physics have made the driver's neck literal jelly. Ready? Boop! Oh, I'm such a child. Right, Arthur Fry is in the pits. This is important. He's trying to maybe undercut Adrian Falcon. He's done a wonderful job of this, actually, because look where he's come back out. It's typically not showing him for some reason. Why is it not showing him? Oh, yeah, it is. He's the red one. Yeah, apologies. Yeah. I've just gone blind. But, yeah, he's in clear air, so that's important. Very important indeed. He needs that because he just wants to crack on. It may be a little bit of a negative thing, though, you could say, Jack, because he's not got the visual target of having Adrian Falcon right in front now. There's no reference point.
Yeah, like you say, he can't almost... It's a tricky one to explain. He can't like level himself off with Falcon. He can't decide whether he's lapping quick or if he brakes slightly later. Maybe he thinks he's going to outbrake himself, but if he finds an extra bit of time there, does it gain him time over the course of the lap or just in that corner? It's all different things that you tend to get, different streams of data that you can just pick off from the car ahead. Now it's not there. Like you say, Arthur Fry, all he's got to do is drive that car on the ragged edge, do quali laps, lap in, lap out, until Falcon returns from the pit lane once he's gone in for his stop. But of course, that now has put Zemstra in P2, back up to where he started. Into the pit lane comes the number 1 machine, the leading Exodus racing car of Adrian Falcon. What does Zemstra do behind? Does he follow him in? He does indeed. James Forstyke, if he does the same. I've got a feeling now, Chaz, we are getting to the latter end of the fuel stops, and indeed we are, because of course the Consolation race is 11 laps and you wouldn't be able to make it without a pit stop. And now look, we've got all the drivers pouring into the pit lane, the top 6 in, top 7 in now. There is Arthur Fry, the number 22 machine. It's going to be damn close.
It is very, very close indeed. Arthur down the straight. Adrian just leaving now. He's getting going. And I think Arthur, being on track, he's going to have the advantage here, although the exit is into a braking zone. Yeah, Adrian has got it still. Pit stop time was actually a 1/10 of a second longer for Adrian Falcon, but the pit exit doesn't really owe you any favours here, so it's now 1.2 seconds. Good stuff from Adrian Falcon to hold on to that. Real shame for Arthur Fry not to be able to make any changes. Ben Hoffman, he's come side by side with Ashley Beard here, the XZ car and the Altitude XZ machine, as Adam Osiwala leads 2 of the Academy drivers out of the pit lane. But going through, where's Carn Newen? Actually, Carn Newen's like nearly 20 seconds back, I think. No, not that far. 3, 2 seconds. So very close as... Oh, Beard's had an off. Oh, Beard's properly off. He's out. Oh, that's a real shame. Oh, and Greg Parmenta's just gone around. This is what happened to Ashley Beard. Oh, he's having connection issues, and then suddenly the car is backwards.
Was that in front of his teammate? I hasten to add.
I think it was, as Parmenter spun on his way out of the pits, unfortunately. But yeah, that was in front of his teammate, but it seemed like the gap was smaller than that when we last saw him. Yeah. He's actually back now. So I think maybe him disappearing was actually the connection issue. We'll look at it again. Trust me, I'm clicking the TV1 camera frantically. So when he does arrive, that's another spin that he's had. Wondering whether he's just lit up the rears trying to get away and then just had a nightmare. Such a shame for Ashley Beard. He's so potent, so quick. But, I mean, sometimes we've seen it, haven't we, Jack, where issues like that where the car's blinking in and out, it's not always down to network-related issues. It can actually be hardware sort of not outputting a signal of what the car's doing. You know, if you have a bad enough hardware failure, then your car will not appear as if it's a network failure, won't it?
Yeah, there's so many different aspects, and just being able to race with a full grid like we've got out this evening on cars which cannot be matched, and a circuit which is so close to the real thing, and then of course we've got drivers all around the world. The fact that it only has these slight issues that affect occasional races is still insane. I still don't know how it all works. But just to have these slight issues, I'm sure the drivers will say, yeah, I'm going to take one for the team tonight. If it means we can race everyone from around the world and have some amazing action while we're doing it, I would more than happily just sit there spinning away with the network issues, just to try and take a bit of strain off. You can see Caitlin Haight with a DRS wide open there with a helmet tucked into her airbox, currently sat there in P11 chasing down Ben Hoffman. But I hate to say it, Ben Hoffman is on fire once again, setting faster laps than most the drivers around him. Of course, he has been into the pit lane, so it's all about just managing that car to the line and hopefully not getting distracted by Caitlin behind.
DRSP, drag reducing seating position for Caitlin Haight. But yeah, I mean, I put the camera on Caitlin Haight and Ben Hoffman as well, just to prove the point, really, that, you know, you see how these cars behave and how they bounce around and things like that. The fact the sim can detect that at their end and communicate that car behaviour to us so quickly, so smoothly and so naturally that is one of the details that iRacing really nails. I'm not going to start this sim is better than others debate again, but that is honestly one of the details that iRacing really nails in comparison to other sims out there. You know, the way the cars all move from one PC to another. There's no sudden jolting or horrible movements. There's no cars lingering around and moving sort of, what's it called? Moving not horizontally, laterally. You know, they're not washing around laterally where the signal sort of goes, oh, hang on, I'm figuring it out. And then you've got the fact that Ben Hoffman's from Germany and Caitlin Haight's in the United States. And these two are racing so closely together as, oh no. Oh, James Forsythe. James Forsythe's around. What happened here?
He was
more
or less safe in that position. But nothing is going to save him from that. That was, who was that helped him round? Was it? It was Jaco van der Plat there in the number 57 machine, and it just the tiniest bits of contact. But because these cars are built to be on the edge of grip and built to almost ride the finest line, any sort of tap like that, it just spins it on its axis. It's such an easy mistake to make, and Jaco van der Plat, I'm sure he's done it before, he's done it tonight, and I'm sure he'll do it again, and it will happen to him. But that is just one of the things with these cars. They are so mechanically perfect. One little tap like that and it's going to throw it out of balance.
And well, he's going to be feeling like a bit of a Jaco van der Prat at the moment after making that tiny bit of contact. But, you know, like you say, in fairness to him, in his own defence, it's such an easy car to outdo yourself on the brakes with. And, you know, especially into turn one at the Nurburgring, you always try and brake late. It's downhill, it's into a corner. It is by far one of the hardest corners in the world to get right, especially in something like this with no ABS. You know, it can really bite you in the backside. Now, these two are actually the lead two cars in consistency class. Caitlin just checking out a star sign down the straight, but I love the fact that the driver's head still wobbles from side to side and leans into the corners even though it's the wrong way up. You'll see it happen here, sort of like in opposite direction. It's like the G-forces really get to it. But anyway, away from the comical issue we have there, Jaco van der Plat still in 5th place. We've got fiercely forward cars, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th and 8th at the moment in this race, doing a cracking job. We had a purple sector 1 from Adrian Falcon last time round, and his lead is now 2 seconds over Arthur Fry. So Adrian just doing what he does best, leading by example at the front. Car 1 P1 is something I've said a lot already this season, to be fair, Jack. Like I say, he's won 3 rounds, 3 feature races in a row, while also winning his heats from what I know. You know, he's had pole, he's had a win in every heat, every race he's done for the last 3 race meetings. He's just looking unstoppable at the minute, and this is looking like it's going to be his 4th.
Yeah, he's just led by example pretty much. He's got to the front and done exactly what he needs to do while he's there. And of course, we saw Arthur Fry reeling him in little by little, setting those faster laps. And then as soon as they left the pit lane, Adrian Falcon, he found another gear. They must have installed something else in that car in the pit lane, because he's just disappeared to the tune of, 2.3 seconds now, with a purple sector 2 as well. So he's really starting to get every grain of performance out of that F3 car, and through the chicane we go once again. It just looks controlled. The car doesn't look like it's waving around anywhere. It's not wagging its tail. It's just all calculated, all controlled, not using too much of the curb, barely touching the AstroTurf. He uses the track that he knows he can use, avoids the bits he knows he can't, and he's just controlling the race. And well, there you go, he's controlling my timing screen as it flashes a light. The fastest lap of the race, a 1 minute 49.728. To put that into perspective, and not to take away from Adrian's lap, that's still 30 seconds slower than the lap record here, which was set by Max Verstappen last year in his F1 car. But to still be in two categories lower than Formula One, and to be setting lap times like that. And also, that was a great shot there, Chaz. James Forsyth just braking so much later than the car behind. It shows that while some drivers might be more confident on the brakes, others are more confident through the mid corner and on the throttle out of the corner. It shows just how tight knitted this pack really is.
Yeah, indeed. It really does compress into this first section, and I think that's part of the reason why it's always good to watch, is that first section, because you see so many drivers taking so many different lines. You know, there's a sudden acceleration, then a sudden brake, and it's a hairpin into a long left, and then another hairpin, and then you've got a really sharp right. You've got all the weight transfer while you're doing that as well, and of course you've got the elevation change. You know, you go over a crest partway around turn 2 here, you go over a bit of a crest through turn 4, and then of course you've got the camber and everything here as well. The Michael Schumacher S's go over a crest as well. There's a bit of camber involved here. It's just a wonderful circuit to drive. I just really don't enjoy watching that first sector, because it just sort of makes me hold my breath a little bit. Up through the Schumacher S's then goes Caitlin Haight, second in class at the moment. She'll be a little bit gutted with that, because she was at the top of the class for most of this race, but either way, you know, it's a big turnaround from what she's had before, and you could say this has sort of saved her participation in the championship, because she was very close to quitting previously. I'm sure she won't mind me saying that, because it's understandable, the frustration, as we get Adrian Falcon doing another 49.8, so incredible rapid pace once again from him. But he's now onto the final lap, Jack, with 2.6 seconds as his advantage. Doesn't look like he's going to have to push too hard for this one, but we know what Adrian's like. He'll probably pull out a fastest lap of the race.
Yeah, it's just those little things, and I know, having not necessarily been in this situation leading from the front, I've led a class. And you sat there thinking, oh, this is great. And then on the last lap of the race, I thought Arthur Fry was a bit sideways there. I was hoping it wouldn't spear towards the Armco. And what have you picked up on, Chaz?
He's getting very blinky boy at the moment, is Arthur Fry.
Possibly on your end. He's looking somewhat... Oh, there you go. Well, definitely not. It seems like he's miraculously caught up. He's having... a bit of a moment there into the hairpin, and yeah, that's not what you want on the last lap of the race. So it's fair to say Adrian Falcon, barring any major mistakes, he's pretty safe there.
Yeah, he's certainly hit 88 mile an hour there, did Arthur Fry. Adam Ossioala, by the way, still leading the academy class. Quite a while down on the overall race leader, but obviously this is a longer race. There is a good spread of talent in the field, so it does spread out, but good stuff so far from what I'm definitely going to have to change to XD Racing for Adam Ossioala. Ashley Beard is still in the race, 13th position, just ahead of Philip Russell, who's trying to get past down into the hairpin. Nothing doing there, though. He's going to look around the outside for the sake of it, but coming through the final couple of corners now, it's been another absolutely untouchable evening for the Spaniard. Car 1, P1, once again. Your reigning champion, Adrian Falcon, takes the win at the Nurburgring. Amazing stuff. This man seems unstoppable. Arthur Fry minimises the damage with second place, though. And then, Jack, we have a train of fiercely forward cars.
We do indeed. Kevin Zemstra, the first of those, hounded to the line by Matthew Crisp. Then it's Jaco van der Plat for fiercely forward GSI. And you can see Taylor Lane just about managing to hold on there. I think he was actually looking to get past Ross Nicholson. Now look, this is Philip Russell trying to defend from Palmer. Palmer runs very slightly wide, touches the gravel, maybe spins up the rear very slightly. In towards the final corner we go. Palmer now looking for the long way, or the shorter way around. That wasn't Palmer, sorry. That was who was that? It was Palmer. I'm
Ashley Beard. Ashley Beard and Philip
It is
Russell.
Ashley Beard.
Beard just beats him to the line. He had to defend that quite strongly there. Adam Osiawala wins the Academy class. Well done, mate. Or should I say for the bingo, well done, Sunshine. Khan Newen second in that class, just behind Paul Godden. Greg Parmenter. Actually, that's what is on the screen as an SCCR by Delta Sport 1-2 in the Academy class. But, of course, XD Racing. Well done to those guys. I imagine their deal with EasyJet will be in the post. But that's an absolutely wonderful, wonderful bit of driving from those two tonight. But Adrian Falcon, oh my lord, he's done it again, everybody. 4 feature race wins in a row. If you count that as what, a heat race and then a feature race win, what's that? 8 race wins in a row for Adrian Falcon. That's just outstanding.
I don't know how he does it. He just finds something else in that car, and yeah, that is true talent behind the wheel of that F3 car. I'm not sure how he does it. Most of these cars are limited to 220 brake horsepower. He seems to find an extra 20 from somewhere and puts it to damn good use. Ben White crossing the line for Eclipse Racing in 20th place, and you can see there just how much it means to Adrian Falcon. While he is racking the numbers up at a rapid rate, each win just means the world to him, and he's just getting the last bit of life out of those tyres. We've got the Consolation results up on screen. But there we go. We do have the feature race results available to us. Adrian Falcon, I've got to get it. Number 1, P1. There you go, Chad. Up at the front, takes to the top step of the podium by the tune of 2.5 seconds from Arthur Fry and Fat Send Engineering. Kevin Zemstra rounds out your podium for Fiercely Forward, and of course Fat Send Racing and Fat Send Engineering and Fiercely Forward, sparring partners in the Teams Championship. So with Matthew Crisp finishing in 4th, that will definitely close the Teams Championship up. Jaco van der Plat, Fiercely Forward GSI in 5th. Then it's Josh Clogg, Ross Nicholson, Taylor Lane in 8th place. 9th was James Forsyth. Ben Hoffman rounds out your top 10 for XZ Racing. Then it's Caitlin H, Wayne Palmer, Ashley Beard, Philip Russell, Adam Osiwala, Paul Godden, Khan Newen, Greg Parmenter down in 18th place for Sim Stickers Racing. And
I'm sorry, mate.
Are you changing the grid?
Yes, I was clicking the grid, not the results. I was doing it in a rush. I'm sorry.
No worries. Marco Vallota in the number 1, 2, 3 finishes in 19th place. Ben White in 20th. Victor Blick in 21st. Sammy Venables, after what started out to be an absolutely amazing night, rounds out his evening down in 22nd place. And then it's Brian Loynes and Louis Correa rounding out the results. That was one hell of a night. It definitely didn't disappoint. Can I come back again next week, of course, because it's week back-to-back weeks this week, isn't it?
Is it?
It is.
It's a good thing you told me that. It's a damn good thing you told me that. Because, hang on, no, it's the 1st of April next week. Is this an April Fool's joke?
I don't know, is it?
I don't know.
Is it supposed to be? Yeah, the 23rd. The 23rd, we do have round 6.
Today's the 25th of March.
Oh, am I looking at the wrong thing again? Oh, yeah. I mean, what am I looking at? Oh, that'd be why, Jack. I'm sat there looking at the season 4 dates.
Oh, no, don't give... Oh, shh.
Oh, shit. Oh, pardon.
Right, quick interviews. We need to... Oh, God, right. Oh, thank God for that. I get the pun. Thank Godden for that. Paul Godden joins us in the commentary box in a very, very great timing, to be fair. Paul, that looked like, I mean, from up here, that was an absolutely phenomenal night's racing, that. I understand it wasn't the smoothest for a lot of drivers out there, but what did you find of that one?
Oh, it's really enjoyable. I loved every race I was in. I really enjoyed it. I had good battles with people. Most of the time it was clean, giving each other room. Yeah, it's just overall it's just a really good night. The car was perfect start to finish as well, which was nice. Yeah, it was just a great evening's racing. So
yeah, it certainly looked like it, mate. You know, the track seems to suit these cars well. I mean, we've all seen Formula 1 cars go well around here, you know, and as Jack has mentioned in the broadcast, you know, I was fortunate enough to see Formula 4 racing, the ADAC Formula 4 Championship here in real life. And it is just a circuit that promotes great racing. There's so many different lines you can take around a lot of the corners. did you sort of have to plan what you were going to do before you got to every corner tonight? Because there was so many battles going on.
Yeah, when we were battling through, say, hills in the first heat, unfortunately, it's the best I've been at any circuit this season around here. I just clicked, it just suits me nicely. And in heat 1, I lost all my full speed back in turn 2. And I was trying to hold on to the steering wheel without it spinning constantly to try and find a place to pull over. And then once all the grid went, I just let go of the wheel because I couldn't hold on to it any longer, and it shot me into the wall. I thought,
right.
that's my night over. And I was really annoyed about it. But and then into the consolidation race, started at the back, didn't think much of it. There's a little bit of incident in front, managed to get through there, but after that, the racing was really good, and I was racing with people that I don't normally race against that have had a bad heat as well. So they were obviously trying to come through the pack, and the different lines they were taking was very hard to judge some of the times. I think it was Ben Hoffman. I was behind me at one point, and he's braking a lot later into the corners, and I thought, oh, is he going to rear end me? And then you look in your mirror and he's gone, and he's over the other side, then he's back the other side. It was you just didn't really know where they were. But once the quicker guys had got through, and I was racing with the guys in my class, and that it was we had some just really good fun battles, and it was everyone gave each other room. Track was I think the track just lets people race because it's a little bit wider than some of the other tracks, and it's a little bit flowing. And if you run wide, you're not really going to get too much trouble. You just lose a bit of time. Rather than some tracks, you run wide, you're on the grass, and you're then in no man's land, and you've lost too much time really. So.
Well, we just saw there in slow motion as well, you avoiding Brian's unfortunate incident early on. You know, having the awareness to avoid incidents like that is what gets you through these races, because, you know, while the feature race is longer, it's still quite frantic, isn't it?
Yeah, it was interesting when we come around that first bit, and I saw them. They were 3 wide into that corner, and I was like, that's not going to work into the next corner. And then I saw Brian coming backwards, and I was about to shout to him on the radio to hold his brakes, and then realised he had no wheels on it.
I was going to say, that doesn't really help.
I had nowhere to go. Yes, I had nowhere to go, so I was just braking and hoped the guy behind me was going to do the same, which I've got to watch it back, but I think he unfortunately, I don't know if he hit the grass or he spun, because with the new smoked model as well, it come up quite a bit. But yeah, I managed to stop that, and then the other guy started a little chicane, went through. I lost quite a lot of time, but at least I was still in the race. I was annoyed with myself because I thought I could have maybe got through that gap, but then when Brian was coming across, I didn't know if he was going to come all the way across, and if he did, that would have been me out the race as well. So, and all this tonight was about trying to get as many points as I can, because I felt good in the car. Race 1 didn't go well. So when I got to the feature, started at the back, I was like, if I can pick up top 20 result, that'll be great, because it's better than not being in the final race. But yeah, to finish, I think it was 15th or 16th.
Yeah.
You were only one mistake I made coming out of the chicane, where I just ran too deep with someone was coming up the inside of me, and I just spun it round. But
well,
it's good.
To be fair, you were the second highest mover in the field in that race. You gained 8 spots from 24th to 16th. Only Ben Hoffman got more places, and he gained 12 and actually won the class as well in 10th place overall. But I tell you what, 8 places gained, especially after having to lose time for that incident at the start. That's not a bad night at the office, mate. We've got your teammates lining up for interviews as well now, Paul. So we will have to shimmy on, I'm afraid. But is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to as ever?
Just thanks to you and Jack for doing the great commentary and the broadcast. So we all love watching it back and seeing what happens. To SRW, and also to Bart, who unfortunately wasn't in the race for some reason tonight, but he's put a lot of effort into this week trying to get these setups right for everyone. And, it's unfortunate he couldn't be here. I don't know why, but hopefully everything's okay with him. And and look forward to next week. I think it's in Okayama, isn't it? I think we're going. So looking forward to that one. Yeah,
definitely. Okay, I don't know, but
I think it's there.
That'll be a good one. Slippery Japanese tarmac and Formula 3 cars is always a good mix. But either way, Paul, pleasure to speak to you again, mate. Well done tonight. Great feature race considering what happened at the start, and hopefully we'll speak to you very, very soon, mate.
Yeah, we'll do. Catch you later.
Cheers, buddy.
Bye.
Smashing stuff. Always good to speak to Paul Godden, and it's always good to speak to his teammate, who is the man with, I think, in total, Ross, I think if we had to weigh your luck, if it was a physical object, it'd weigh about 40 grams, wouldn't it? About the same as a pack of Monster Munch. But it's in fairness, you've turned that around really in this championship. You've had some really strong results, and to be fair, tonight looked like one of those good evenings for you. It was a very strong night.
Yeah, it was. We had myself and Brian had limited practice. We only done maybe 20 laps before tonight, so we knew we weren't going to have great pace. But yeah, finally managed to get through the first lap, which was always a bonus for me. And then from there, it was just trying to keep it going. It was good to race with Josh. I haven't raced with Josh, I think, since like the middle of last season. We had some really good wheel-to-wheel racing with him, so it was a good night, to be fair.
Well, it certainly looked like a lot of fun, and I mean, we were just talking there to Mr. Godden about the circuit itself and how it just promotes great racing. I personally, and that's, I mean, if I ever want to go back to the Nurburgring, I should probably avoid them ever seeing this, but I hate that first section. I hate it with a passion. I just think it's one of the ugliest and most sort of momentum-killing pieces of racetrack I've ever seen. But in these cars, it promotes mega racing because of all the different lines. It certainly looked like a lot of fun for you guys. Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, it was like the first sector's like, it's one of those you kind of, it's like Marmite. You either love it because you can be quick at it, or you hate it because it's just hard work.
Yeah.
Like turn one, yeah, I was slightly quicker than Josh for that because I took a different line, but then I lost it in turn two. So it was give and take. Obviously, turn 2 and 3 are pretty much off camber, and especially in these cars, you're going around there and you are teetering with the edge of the grip levels when you're going through there. So yeah, I have always enjoyed driving at the Nurburgring. Only the Grand Prix though, not the Nordschleife. I refuse to do that track.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
I really enjoy it. I think it's I prefer it with the other chicane at the end of the lap. I just think it promotes more overtaking because it's much easier to get through to the last corner. But I enjoyed it. It was quite enjoyable tonight, to be fair. Had some really good wheel to wheel. A couple in the first race and the feature. I think spent most of the first sector side by side with James in the first one. So like you say, with the different lines, it would take you like 4 corners to get past them, especially in the first sector, because you could give each other room and then keep getting the time back on each other. So it was enjoyable, and it was good for overtaking, to be fair.
Well, I'll tell you what, out of all nights for me to have Jack in the box with me, I've never thought of that, Jack in the box. Oh, that's getting used. But of all nights for me to have him in the box with me, and all nights to introduce Jack in the best way possible to commentating on this series, tonight was the one. I don't think I would have lasted. I would have had an absolute meltdown with the amount of battles that were going on tonight. And, there was no exception anywhere in the field. It was just really, really good to watch and thoroughly, thoroughly enjoyable broadcasting. So I hope if you do watch it back, you do enjoy it. And, of course, we do hope that your good luck continues this season, Ross. Touch wood. You've had some good luck recently in the Dynamics Endurance Series and, obviously, good pace to go with it. So fingers crossed that carries on here, because I felt like it was me that was the curse for you for a very, very long time. But either way, fantastic to speak to you as ever, Ross. Do you want to give a quick shout out to anyone while you're here?
Yeah, just give a shout out to everyone at Simracersworld for everything they do with not just the F3, with all the leagues that they put on. They're putting on a lot of leagues lately, so yeah, thanks to them. Thanks to you guys for the commentary. It wouldn't be the series what it is without live commentary for people to watch and then people to get excited over watching it. So thanks for you guys.
Thank you.
And thanks to everyone in races in the league as well. Like tonight was for me great racing with everyone wheel to wheel. So yeah, thanks to everyone in the league and all the drivers and everyone at SimStickers. They know who they are.
Well, we're going to interview solely SimStickers drivers tonight as well. But either way, Ross, always good fun to speak to you, mate. Great to see you doing well, and we'll see you in a few weeks' time.
You certainly will. Cheers, guys.
Cheers, buddy. And I tell you what, Jack, it's your first evening with us in the F3 Championship. Why don't you take it away with the two-wheeled Brian Loynes? Although it doesn't sound... Jackie there. Hello.
It's understandable. It was that magic.
There we go. There we go. No, don't want to speak to him after that. But Brian Lloyd, welcome to the commentary box. It's been an up and down night for yourself. Heat 2 didn't really go your way. Consolation race went really well. Sat there in P4, and then the feature race, it put a downer on the rest of the night, didn't it, really?
I mean, it's been my the last 4 events in terms of the feature race has been a bit scary for me. Watkins Glen, Ross caused a pile up. Road America, I got caught from P2 off the grid. Interlagos, I caught a spinning car with netcode, and then today I got rear-ended going through in the first part. So I've had 2 months of not so much fun F3 racing, but it is what it is. You have to enjoy it as it comes, and bad luck. Ross had it for pretty much most of the end of last season. I think I've taken his mantle. And it seems to be me with the F3 at the moment.
Well, next time I speak to Ross, I'm going to ask him what the brake lines are like under that bus that you've just thrown him under. Flipping heck.
Literally. I mean, it was a pretty big accident. You can't.
Oh, it was. Yeah. Sorry. Oh, it killed me.
Right. Well, seeing as Chaz hasn't quite picked up on it with the Chaz bingo that's been going around this evening, Okayama next time out. What are you thinking? A circuit you like? A circuit you don't? Talk us through it.
I generally quite like it because it's not too open. I prefer the tighter tracks that are on the calendars. I haven't raced a Formula car around there, so I imagine it'll be quite fun. But we'll wait and see. And
of course, with the heat races, obviously you're not having to pit. Consolation, more than likely having to pit unless you can fuel save. And the feature race, you've definitely got to pit. I'm just slightly curious because I never really had to deal with this. One, because I wasn't good enough in Season 2 to get to the feature race. In Season 1, we just didn't have a feature race. How much is strategy worked upon in the weeks running up to it? Is it all just about turning laps, or is it literally about sitting with exactly the right setup that you need and then figuring out when you need to pit, the easiest ways to save fuel? Like, talk us through what you put into the series on the run-up to an event.
I know for Ross, he was into the feature, so we was talking about the Consolation, knowing that we're 2 of us, Greg and I were both, sorry, not Greg, Paul and I were going to be in the Consolation. It was him with the calculator going, well, you need to save this amount at the beginning or in the end, so it was like, it can be done, so you need to do it, you need to have this amount of litres at this point in the race, and so we were working to those figures going around. So my lap times were up and down like a yo-yo. I think in the middle I was hitting 153s, 154s to bring my fuel consumption right down. So I think we take it race by race. I know Bart puts an amazing job of putting out like a driver's briefing that does say that it is doable to fuel save. So everybody has that opportunity knowing that they can fuel save, which I think is a very good way forward, because not everybody has the luxury of either being with a team, they might be on their own. So I think it's good that Bart does that. But thankfully we have a big enough team that's able to kind of coach us through it, for all of that. And I know Ross was saying briefly that I know himself and me, we haven't had a great deal of running here with all the other series that's been going on. So it was good to have that voice in the background saying, right, you need this amount of litres with 4 laps to go, and working from that.
Well, it looked like it was going to pay off for the first 100 yards of the feature race, and then it all just came undone, which is such a shame. When annoyingly, Chaz has found the exact point where it all came undone for you. He tends to do that on the replay, so I'm gonna almost barter any sort of negative comments over to Chaz because he's the one broadcasting this evening. But once again, well done for the slightly up and down evening. It was great to see you back out there, of course. And we'll see you, well, whether I'm here or not, but Chaz will see you 2 weeks' time at Okayama.
Absolutely.
Thanks very much, Brian. Cheers, buddy. Smashing stuff as always, Jack. Well, your first night back with me, and of course with the Simracersworld Formula 3 series. It's a hell of a night, isn't it, mate?
Yeah, it's not just, oh, I've got a commentary gig tonight. It's like I have an event, because you can't just narrow it down to one thing. It is such a big event. You've got 4 races spread over the night, 2 7-laps. Well, here this evening, because obviously it varies on track length. 2 7-lap races, an 11-lap race, and then a 16. And it's drivers which maybe haven't raced with each other like much in that way, because obviously you've got heat 1 and 2, which is separated up with qualifying, and then the consolation race. So you could end up racing with a driver you haven't raced all season, purely because you just had the luck of the draw. You haven't fallen into either their heat, or you've got through to the feature and they've only got into the consolation. Like, there's so many different bits to think about throughout the season. And on the run up to this night, I knew it'd be rather busy, but if I'd known it was going to be this busy, I don't know what else I could have done, because it's just there's nothing can prepare you for what's going to happen, because it's always something new week on, week off. Of course, you've got the usual names up at the top, but then occasionally, like we said earlier, we get that one name just working their way up the order. Ben Hoffman tonight, the one for me. What a drive he had in all of the races. It was just position after position after position, and he made it work for him.
Yeah, Ben Hoffman, probably driver of the night for me. I mean, Adrian Falcon, you have to say, he's just been unbelievable. Like, truly unbelievable this season. You know, he came back from a bit of a rough first round. He's won every round since then, and I'm sure he's going to try and continue doing the same. But yeah, Ben Hoffman has been an absolute star. But so too have you, Jack. Thank you very much for joining me this evening, and thank you everybody for watching. It's been another fantastic night with this incredible format. Hats off to Bart Daleman and the guys, because what a series this is. And we're only at the halfway point now of this championship. I'm so excited for the rest of it. We'll be back at Okayama in 2 weeks' time, everybody. But for now, have yourselves a wonderful evening. Enjoy the drop. We'll see you in a few weeks. Good night.